seen. You're all I need. You're all I need. Yeah. So now I'm learning to walk in your steps. And through the valley of confusion, I've been losing my apprehension with death. But you say, let me lead you, let me take you by the hand, so I can feed you from a good and precious land. Now I owe it all to you, giving my heart to you, freedom becoming true. Nobody else like you, do what you promised to, and I'm so grateful for your love. And all my eyes have seen the wonders of your mystery received. I've tasted what it means. Now nothing else is good enough for me. You're all I need. You're all I need. You're all I need. You're all I need. Oh, I need you. Yeah, I need you. Oh, I need you now. Now I owe it all to you, giving my heart to you, freedom becoming true. Nobody else like you, do what you promised to, and I'm so grateful for you. I'm so grateful for your love. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. I need you in my life.
Yeah. What's up, everybody? We are live on camera. We are live. What's up, everybody? Shout out on a Tuesday night. We're here. We're in the building. We are doing our thing. Thank you for everybody who's in the building right now. Thank you for the people that are in the chat. Make sure you hit that like button and share this video. We got a lot to talk about tonight. You know, there's we want to get into some relationship stuff tonight. We got to get into the fact that you know, they got the Kamala machine going crazy in the media, and we got to talk about the craziness at the Olympics. We got to talk about what's going on in Venezuela, which is where they want this country to be. So we're gonna get into all of that. Appreciate everybody for watching. Make sure you guys hit that like button. You are watching Young Lion TV. Let's go.
Young lion, everywhere I look, they're dying. Everywhere I look, they're dying. Young lion, everywhere I look, they're dying. Everywhere I look, they're dying. Young lion, won't you get up and start fighting? Everywhere I look, they're hiding. Young lion.
Yes, sir. That's what it is. It's the Young Lion TV podcast, like we do every Tuesday night live here in the Lion's Den. And that means that everything that we're doing is live and direct. And so that means you guys can join in the chat and let us know where you're at right now. Let us know where you're watching from. If you're on Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, Twitter, wherever you're watching from, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're new here. Make sure you put a comment in there. Tell us where you're watching from and join in on the conversation, because we like to get interaction from everybody in the crowd. Also, we want to thank all of our Patreon members for supporting what we do at all times. Shout out to to them in the building. I see Courtney over there. I see Mom in the chat. We appreciate y'all as well. And if you want to support what we do, see, this is the Young Lion TV podcast. This is where we talk about culture. We talk about relationships. We talk about life. We talk about politics. We talk about music, whatever it is, things that our perspective on things as men that have kind of woken up from some of the spells that we've been under as young men, realizing growing up in the 80s and 90s, things that we kind of just fell into, took for granted, realized we were programmed, realized when I wake up. And we talk about these things. We used to have these conversations all the time at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning out in the parking lot, you know, just talking after the gym or whatever. And we're like, man, we need to have these conversations in front of people so they can see that men are capable of hashing these things out and these bigger topics out, more than just talking about sports or women or cars or whatever it is that we get stamped as. So if that's something you want to get behind, make sure you guys go on over to our Patreon, which is patreon.com/Young Lion TV. And you can become a member over there for as little as $3 a month. You can sign up, and our Patreon is available for sign up right now. Hold on a second. Let me pull it up for y'all. Yeah, so right there, patreon.com/Young Lion TV. Sign on up, become a member, support what we do, help us keep growing the pride of the Young Lions. Shout out to all the Young Lions that came out to see us live at our show. On Friday night, we were at the City Winery in Philadelphia. Had a great time. It was so good to see so many people. So many of our friends and family came out, and a lot of the Young Lions were in the building. Shout out to Paul. Shout out to Emma. Shout out to Courtney. Shout out to Jeff. Shout out to even Eric, who is one of the newer watchers who came to the show. Yeah. But also, you got to get the Young Lion merch. I got the hat on right here. You see the camo Young Lion hat, and we have Jatan merch as well. But that is on our website, which will be jatan.com/shop, where you can get on over there and get you some of this great merch, where you can send a message to the world, let them know you're grateful. Even through these crazy times we're going through, let the world know that you are grateful, or let them know that you're one of the Young Lions, man. But yeah. Appreciate all of y'all. Thank you for coming to the show. Without further ado, I got to get into the people that are in the building with me right now. Of course, I got the most confusing man in the podcast world. You see him there. You look at him. You say, that guy? He just looks like a black guy to me. Nah, he's not. He is the original Kamala Harris in my life. He's half black. Hey. He's half Indian. But even worse, he has the Spanish last name.
There's some Spanish in there, but the Taino.
Yeah. But I'm saying she got a black last name, so you know that's why you even more confusing than her. Right. You know, they look at you, they see black, but then you tell them you're Indian, and then you got the Spanish last name. Throw them all the way off.
Right. When I had the curly hair, it was Dominican.
Definitely got the Dominican all day long. But he's Mr. James Garcia
yes,
the building, a.k.a. Mr. Bill Wright. Welcome back, sir.
Yep.
I know you've been busy with work and everything.
Yep.
And of course, we got my big brother, but he's everybody's big brother. You see him with the black style Young Lion hat on right there, rocking that. Get on the merch store and get that. And he is Mr. Jacob Eugene Evans III.
Yes, sir.
Letting the salt and pepper come in right there.
Yeah.
Distinguish.
He's not. Right. He is embracing the wisdom that comes with age.
That's what I was going to say. He's always been a man of wisdom, and it's reflecting now.
Hey, man, I'll receive it.
Speaking of that, like you gave a nice little speech / kind of sermon thing on stage during release that kind of, you know, the audience was feeling. A lot of people came up and were appreciative of that. It was a nice moment during the show.
Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah.
I love, you're always thinking of what can we say in a way that could maybe touch somebody,
mm-hmm.
you know, and I like the fact that it's not about us,
mm-hmm.
you know, when we're up there, it's more about we're just a place where you can meet, because like I said on stage, music is spiritual. So
yeah.
We're a place where we bring that to you.
Right.
Right.
We put it in your face.
So that you can
choose to. It's like the song. It's open. You don't have to
Yeah.
wait to come in. Like
Yeah.
we leave that door open there, and so you can see the ones that choose to come in and those that don't.
And it's not it's not preachy,
No, not at all.
you know,
Not at all.
in terms of we're singing, but if you're open to
Yeah.
hear it, there's a spirit behind that.
Right.
You know?
Right. But yeah, it was a fun show, man. It was a fun
Yeah,
show.
it was.
Yeah, I saw the clips.
Yeah. Saw some stuff. Yeah.
I mean, I seen you guys many times. I know you guys put on an excellent show.
Yeah. You know what we do.
I know what you guys do, and the energy is good. But I did go back and I watched the clips and stuff like that. It was great.
One of the things, me and Jake were talking about this earlier. It was so amazing to see. It was pretty much an entirely different crowd than last time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like last time the place was pretty packed. So for us to be able to do it again, pack it out, but with new people was amazing, man.
Well, I think part of that too is, I mean, I truly do. I mean, as much conversation as we're having about, you know, being closed-minded and under a spell, I think a lot of people are waking up, but maybe not in the fashion that a lot of us have. But it's in steps where they're changing. You know what I mean? So musically and culturally, people are starting to be open.
Yeah.
Yeah. We always talk about this because we had one of the DJs from 104.5.
Yeah.
that
Shout out to
has-
Wendy Rollins, man.
Wendy Rollins. Yeah, she's been a
Heavy
supporter
promoter,
for like a pretty long time.
Yeah.
And you know, the thing that you were talking about with her was like, how do you market it?
Yeah.
You know, like what we do. Like how do you, because you got to put it in a box. Everything in the music industry, you got to put in a certain
What's the
box.
format? Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that, you know, if you haven't been to one of our shows and people that know the band even those that try to introduce us to other people are like, oh, what kind of music is it?
I had
And
to
that's
do it
like
with my
the
boss.
hardest question to answer.
Excuse me. I had to do it with my boss.
Yeah.
When I played him your stuff, and he's like, "What is their style?" And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Gumbo."
But then you brought him to a show, right?
And he loved it.
Yeah.
He plays it.
And I was talking to Wendy about that. I'm like, it's one of those things that you have to come see to understand.
Right.
You know?
And I don't want, at the same time, when I'm describing you guys to friends and people who haven't met you guys or don't know you, I don't want to put you in I don't want to be like, well, they sound like this. Because you don't. And it's like, well, they play it. Well, they don't. They have their own flavor. Even the way you guys set the tone for the show.
Yeah.
How you guys
yeah.
do that. It's different.
I think we do have some, you can hear our influences like,
Right.
musically, right? You can hear like some of the 80s stuff.
Yeah.
You can hear some of the R&B stuff, the
Right.
harmony stuff. It's all there.
Right. Production style influences.
Yeah.
But to say like we fit in this genre, we fit in that genre, it's hard.
Right. And to your point, James, about people waking up, I was talking to Jamie about this earlier. I think what's important is that we are the one, like, we're the ones that shine the light, right?
Yeah.
So Jesus said, you are the light, right? Don't hide your light. And I think what has happened over the last maybe 20 years, like hard,
Yeah.
is that it's been people are ashamed to be Christians.
Yeah.
It's a big one.
You know, people are ashamed to speak because they don't want to offend anybody.
Yeah.
You know? Because I think love, like, it's been weaponized against us, and a lot of Christians have done a really bad job at sharpening their swords.
Right.
You know, it's funny, in a loving way.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
Yeah, they've toned it down. Christians are very trepid about sharing. They don't want to have an opinion or anything. You know?
Yeah.
yeah. So you can't, if you're not skilled at combat, you're kind of gonna your sword's gonna get dull, right?
Yeah.
And then you're not gonna fight anymore. You're not gonna even spar. And I think that's where we kind of let other people come in and take over. You know, like when you hear love is love, like, no, love is defined. It's not, you can't say love is love. What love has to be defined by something.
Yeah.
Right? And when you just allow those things to be said and you don't at least challenge people in what they're doing and what they're saying, and you know, the thing, we're not really loving them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We're not shining our light. And if the light isn't shining, how are people going to wake up?
Right.
You know? And if we're not going, and that's the other thing, if we're complacent in, oh, I don't want to mess with it. I don't want to say anything. I don't want to rock the boat.
Yeah.
I don't want to. If we're complacent, what's happening now? Now we're not going to the light.
Yeah.
Right? Because we're only the light because we go to the light, right? And we're not going to go to the light because that's where we get sharpened ourselves, right?
Yeah.
That's where, if we go to the Lord when we don't know what to do, you know, when we feel anxious, when we feel and we're not doing that anymore, we're just hiding it within ourselves instead of coming under the covering of God.
Yeah.
How are we going to grow and understand more about how to reach these people?
Yeah.
Right? It won't happen.
Yep.
We'll just stay complacent, and then everybody's in darkness. You know.
I think one of the things I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, you know, it's a subtle thing, but it's like you have to be careful about people seeing themselves in you versus seeing the light in you. You know what I mean? Like it's good to be able to relate, and I think sometimes we try so hard to want to be relatable that we forget that we have a light. That's the light is when people see a change in you, and they say, "Well, you're different." Or something about you, the way you handle situations, the way you react to things, the way you may even say things, how your tone.
Yeah.
And I think, like I said, back to what I was saying, when people see themselves in you versus seeing the light in you,
Yeah.
you know, that's what being a true believer is.
Agreed.
You know, is when they see that and they say, because even older people can learn from you and be like, wow, you handle that pretty well.
Yep.
I like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let me give some shout outs to people in the chat. I see Courtney said, hey, family. Shout out to Courtney. Mom, who is not with us here today. So if you find the camera switching like that pretty messed up, it's because I'm doing everything myself right now. So shout out to Mom, who is not feeling well tonight. So she's taking the night off, but we love you, Mom. Jeff said, hey, y'all. And shout out to Eric, our boy Eric, who was at the show, man. It was so good to see you and your wife. Glad y'all had a good time. He said, good evening. Great show Friday, guys. Thank you.
I don't think I've ever met Eric before.
Yeah, Eric plays, we met him at soccer.
Okay.
Another one of our soccer bros. But he's been watching the podcast recently, you know, for a while. And he told me that his wife loves watching the podcast. And they were trying to come to the last show. And then a babysitter fell through. They have a new baby, so you know.
Yeah. They're sweet people, man.
Yeah, absolutely, man. But yeah, so let's get into some stuff, man. So where we want to start? I want to start with. So Jake was talking to me about. He sent like a little clip of some relationship stuff, and I was telling him how I saw this clip of a woman talking about, and this is in the title for today's show, like, can God keep you single? Because I saw a clip of a woman.
Where's this going?
I saw a clip of a woman on one of these dating podcasts. We'll just play it and we'll get you guys' reaction to it. So shout out to this podcast. This is one of their episodes here where they kind of debate about relationships and stuff like that. And they went on about this right here.
Comments, y'all putting your own self on your own, taking your own trips. You funding your own lifestyle. You all about the gym, your brain, your brand in these books, right? Your body.
So let me say this.
Well, I just want to preface this for anybody with the soft ears. This girl has a foul mouth, so.
So
let
that's
me
the
start
modern
off.
day woman.
So for me,
so she
because
has a
we're
foul mouth and she's speaking about God?
Yes. I mean, that shouldn't surprise you.
I mean, it doesn't, but it's just funny.
Okay.
That's doing what modern day women do. Y'all making your own money. From the comments, y'all putting your own self on your own, taking your own trips. You funding your own lifestyle. You all about the gym, your brain, your brand in these books, right? Your body.
So let me say this.
So that's the modern day woman.
The modern
so for
woman.
me, because we're speaking out about what you just said, I am someone who obviously makes my own money. I go to the gym. I'm in my books. I have a business. You know, I do my own thing. And within doing my own thing, I have found a way to feel good alone, but that does not mean that I don't want or need a man. I definitely feel like I have the qualities and the traits of a wife. I feel like I'm very nurturing, and I feel like I love to have a man. I also feel like because my gift and the things that I'm meant to do on this earth are very, very big, that God is just holding off for a minute until I get my man, because he's like, if I give you him now, you're going to pour everything you have into him when you need to help the world. So that's why I'm not
Stop
there.
lying on God. God ain't never said
God
no shit like that. God trying to fix your
So first thoughts on that part of the conversation.
When you say I feel like
Yeah,
over and over and over
yeah.
again, that's
You're leading with the wrong energy
yeah,
already.
That's
yeah.
already, because it's not a feeling. It's what it is. It is what it is.
Yeah.
You know, like, where are you getting this stuff from that you're saying?
Right.
You got to have somewhere that you're grounding this in. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but do you think that there's a God would do that? Would say, you know what, you need to be single for a while because I got a lot of work for you to do. Like, do you think that's a valid even like stance to take on why you're not married?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
I mean, and I will say, I mean, everybody, you know, there are people who don't get married, you know, and God wants to use them for other things.
They can be used.
Yeah.
Sure.
Look at Paul.
Yeah.
Right? But
Jesus.
yeah. Well, that's
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say, like, the way she's taking it, she's grandstanding. She's putting it in a way where
It's almost like cope a little bit.
it's about her.
Yeah.
You know, like you think that you're needed by God.
Yeah.
No. God wants to partner with us, obviously.
Yeah.
Because he loves us and he wants us to be who we are intended to be. But I think when you just insert what God wants, that's the problem.
Yeah.
Like, have you humbled yourself? Have you said, you know, like, even in terms of marriage, like, oh, God, help me find a husband. Like,
Right.
even that, you know, that's a problem too.
Yeah.
You know, you should be just humbling yourself to God.
Yeah.
And then the things follow after that.
I mean, that's the idea of like the seminary school, right? Like, these women believe that they're marrying God, so they go without.
Well, you're talking
Not
about
seminary. What's it called?
you're talking about nuns.
The convent.
Convent, yeah, convent,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's what I meant.
I mean, I need to hear more of what she's saying.
Yeah.
But you could tell that.
Oh, we're gonna hear more.
But what I can tell so far of her is this. This is a well-rehearsed answer.
Yeah.
She's thought this well through and through, because people are probably asking her. Because sometimes your friend hype you up.
Yes.
You're beautiful.
Yep.
You have this business.
You
You
a
have this
boss,
great person. You're
babe.
your boss.
Yeah.
You should have this.
Right.
And so she's like, all right, I need to come up with a reason why
Right.
this. No one's going to argue with God has a purpose for me, and I'll pour more into our man.
Right.
That sounds great. That's very political, very diplomatic to say. You know?
I would even go as far as to say, because it happens a lot in some of these churches, there's a
That's talking
pastor
points.
who will get up
That's
there.
talking points.
He will say, and if you sitting around and you worried about where my man at, maybe God has something that's too big for you to be worried about a man right now. Like, I can hear that, because
Yeah.
a lot of times, a lot of these pastors are catering to their female audience in their
But
church.
why? Why? Because females naturally will purchase more. That's statistics.
Yeah.
It's 80% of the
Well,
debt
the
belongs
churches
to
are
women.
filled with females.
Right. And who comes to the seminar? Who buys the books?
Mm-hmm.
So they have, in a way, they have a built-in audience that will buy their product.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So she's speaking very, like you said, like more preacher-esque in a speak it and receive it kind of
Yeah.
way. But I think it's also too, she probably knows that people are going to judge her. So I'll come up with this answer to no one who's going to question God.
Right.
Is that a whole other can of worms, though? That
It could be.
where are the men in the church, and
That's a huge issue.
and
So
also,
you-
like, are men in the church
Right.
doing a good job of speaking to men outside
No.
that are outside of the church or are church adjacent? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, oh yeah, I believe in God. Oh yeah, I'm spiritual. I'm just not religious. I just don't go to church. You know,
Yeah.
I hear that so much. You know, are they challenging them? Are they, you know, I don't know.
Let's keep going and see what else she has to say.
insecurities. He ain't never told you not getting no man because you got so much to give the world. And that's why God ain't stopped lying on my God. God says you are insecure. You're going to stress a
I
man
am
out.
not insecure,
And you play a lot of
motherfucker.
games.
When am I insecure? I have got so secure in my
God left.
motherfucking self. I wish a nigga would
When?
step to me.
Look,
Whoa.
Jeez.
So it was all good until she got pressed just a little bit.
A little bit.
Just a little bit.
Sorry, God, Satan won this round.
And she said, "I'm very nurturing, ready to be a wife.
Yeah.
I wish a mother would. I wish he would.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
damn.
That's
So, and you call that ready to be a wife?
Motherfucker.
When?
Recent.
Wow.
Recent. And have I
so
not?
recently you just got secure.
In the last,
Wait, Paul, go ahead. Wait. So,
fuck you.
wait,
Go.
no.
Go. 'Cause
You recently stopped being insecure, correct?
yeah.
Still,
Uh-oh. Ads. Let me take it down. But yeah, dude, like already you see, soon as a little bit of
Doing
triggering,
cardio to get
a
in
little bit of pushback from a man, and it's like, you know, she's lashing out.
Right. Well, all he did was just state the obvious.
Yeah, and it's not like he's being rude or he got hype with her.
I mean, he was a little rude.
A little bit.
He was
A little bit. He did say she was insecure.
Yeah, that triggered her.
Yeah, definitely.
Time span, 6 months,
But-
3 months. No. I'm asking a question.
No.
Wait, let me ask this
No.
question. In the last 6 months, the last 3 months, just narrow it. Give me a gap. And what space did you stop being insecure?
Listen.
Answer that.
No, because I'm gonna say what I'm gonna say. I'm not insecure
Right.
until I get a reason to feel insecure about my relationship.
That is valid. But
So
what
I'm not just a
saying is-
naturally insecure woman. No, I'm chilling. A nigga
But-
could do him. Any man that I've ever been with can attest to that. But then when you start giving me reasons, I should walk away, but I don't. That's the problem. But yes, have I had insecurities in relationships? I will never sit here and tell you that I haven't been insecure in relationships. I have. And that is an
we've
inner
all
problem.
been there.
Of
But
course.
what I'm trying to say is, because I'm sick of women lying on God. God told
Stop
me to do
trying to
this.
say I'm
and
lying on my God.
You are lying.
No, I'm not.
All right, then, let me ask you a question.
What?
See, that right there is hilarious to me because everyone says, my God.
My God.
They
Yeah.
have their own
He
version.
said it too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
Like,
have their
let's-
own version.
Who is this God?
Right.
You know, is this the God you have in your head?
Yeah.
Is it a God you've researched and actually like sought after?
Right.
Who is this God?
Yeah. It's a God you've built up to.
I mean, I don't know. Like, it's sounding like that. It's sounding like she hasn't done much in terms of searching after him. It sounds like she's done more in terms of searching after the desires of her heart.
Yeah. I mean, she said she did a lot of work on herself since she was insecure before. But when you hear her like so ready to yell and argue, like a
done
woman
work.
like this, you know,
She's not ready for marriage.
she's not ready for marriage.
No.
Like you can't even have a conversation about something. Like, yeah.
And give me the buffer. You stopped being insecure in the last, 3 months, 6 months? For just pick a time window.
What am I telling you? I
Pick a
told you I'm
window.
not insecure. I
All
got
right,
insecure
so-
in relationships. I'm not just a naturally
So
insecure
when did it
fraud.
stop? You said you used to be, you not no more. When did it
I was
stop?
insecure when I was in my last relationship.
All
because
right,
of
so
the
how
things
long ago has that
developed.
stopped?
Whatever, like a year.
A year. So you saying in this year, God told you you got enough to give the world, so he ain't giving you no man? No, he did not
I
tell you
didn't
that
say
this
he's
year.
not giving me no man.
He said you got too much to give the world in a whole year.
Maybe he's saving the world from you.
Maybe that's. I mean, maybe he's saying you need to be prepared to be a wife
That
first.
nurturing thing that you talked about.
Yeah. Remember all the brides that didn't have oil in their lamp? Maybe he's trying to tell you something.
All right.
Listen to what I'm saying.
I'm listening to what you're
Listen,
saying.
no,
Before we
listen.
start out with this bullshit, I'm not about to let you lie on. None of y'all ladies lie on God. God wants you. He ain't never said, God withhold my man. No, you withholding your man with your attitude, your inability to be your inability to be in touch with your femininity.
I
and
know
your-
you're not talking to me though, because I don't have a bad attitude. Yes, I seem like I do right now.
At least she caught herself.
But the other girl's
At
laughing
least-
at her.
I know the other girl was like, "What?"
At least
You
she
about to go
caught
viral.
herself in her attitude, because some people would be yelling and in their attitude and not realize
and just say, but she said that she still let that come out of her mouth.
Right. Yeah.
I don't have a bad attitude. Like,
I know
what?
it comes.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
The other girl's laughing. The other girl knows, like, oh, you about to go viral.
Yeah, she's like, yo, you sound so crazy right now.
I was like, ma'am.
And she's attacking me.
And she what? Listen,
Right.
I know. But
So
listen,
wait,
you're not
so
about
now-
to dog
now-
walk me on this podcast
now, what did God
and paint
tell
a
you?
bad picture about me.
All right, now, what did God tell
fuck
you?
you, Six, for real.
no,
But
what
the
did-
truth is,
You hear it?
What?
You're not about to paint a
A bad picture of me. Yeah.
See, that's where I always say this: women jump to conclusions, men jump to solutions. Women are always looking at the structure finished. They're looking at it finished. They don't care about the design. Like, they don't care about putting it together. They care about what it looks like,
What it's
going to
look like
and
to
getting
other
it
people.
to that end.
Yeah.
Right?
But they're always thinking about, like, even like women like to have their house clean and neat and decorated because they're thinking about when people come over.
Yeah.
That's their mindset.
Right.
Of it.
My wife is doing it right now.
Yeah.
She's
And-
cleaning for the cleaners.
Let's caveat this with, like, you know, because it's more when you're in your, how do I say this? When you're in your carnal,
Yeah,
right? When you're
right.
in your very, very like flesh mentality, or I'll say your fallen nature,
Yeah.
right? Your old nature. Like, when we're in our old nature, men are very want to solve everything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We jump to solutions. We're always trying to solve stuff. So, yeah, even for us, we got our own problems to
Yeah.
deal with. right?
Absolutely.
But
Because men will be completely oblivious to those things.
And there are some women, some men that will behave like that.
Yeah.
Like that.
oh yeah,
A lot of times
There's a
they're
lot of
raised by. A lot of times they've been raised by single mothers or or women, very like strong-headed women. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They don't have fathers that guided them.
well, I mean, if you think about it, a lot of it
Good
has to do
fathers,
with
spiritual fathers.
a lot of it has to do with survival.
Yeah.
So, like, that goes back to that animalistic nature, right? Where you're falling and you're always you're in a corner, an animal in a corner trying to bite its way out or fight its way out, right?
Yeah.
So you all you know is that.
Yeah.
That's the sympathetic nervous system versus the what's the other one? Sympathetic.
And I forget.
I forget too. But you have these people are used to being in one focus, one way of thinking. They work out of one nervous system. Right? Where is the fight or flight?
Yep.
Right? You're always in fight or flight. Right? That's why even how, like, these type of women, they love when a man talks to them in a way that is disrespectful.
Checks them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I add to that real
Yeah,
quick?
go ahead.
Something that's interesting, especially with more minority women, is you'll hear them say this: "I need a man that can
Handle me. Yeah.
right?"
Yep.
And it's like, only wild animals are meant to be handled.
Yeah.
Why do you need to be handled? Why does an adult need to be handled? Why does someone have to physically threaten you or be able to, like, strong arm you to act right?
Because
That makes no sense.
I think it's because a woman like this woman in particular with this type of like persona, they're so used to being wild and being like, I don't give a F. I say what I want to say, that they feel like they need a man that is willing to deal with that or put up with that or what they mean by handle me. It means just deal with my BS. That's what they mean.
Right.
Accept my BS and not give me any pushback, or check me in such a way where I feel like it turns me on a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, and then it just becomes toxicity in the relationship. That's what they mean by that, which is
You explained it. I've asked. They don't even know what that means.
they don't.
They don't even know. And I'm like, why do you need to be handled though? Like, I genuinely, but I would never see how he is kind of combative with her. My question would be, well, why do you need to be handled? Why can't you control yourself like an adult and behave and learn to have what is so hard about having a normal conversation without having to cuss everybody out?
Because it's programming.
Yeah.
Like, it's what when you're in broken homes, when you've grown up
Survival,
in trauma,
like you said.
yeah, you grow up in trauma.
Yeah.
You all you know is how to survive. You don't trust any. It's
Right.
really about trust,
Right.
right? And that's like trust that's the basis of faith,
Right.
You know, when what does love do? Love provides a place where you can be safe. That's what love does.
And if you don't feel like the type of woman that is safe in the space of like, I can be ladylike, I can be soft, I can be dainty. I don't have to put this bark out there to protect myself from all of the things that are trying to come at me.
Right.
You know,
They're so obsessed with some form of power that they never see the woman who carries herself with dignity and respect. When she walks in a room, men stand up, men honor her. They're not looking for that. They think by screaming and yelling, they think that
gets them respect. Yeah.
They never pay attention to the more dignified females who, when men are around, will say, "Hey, don't talk like that. There's a woman here."
Yeah.
Or you carry yourself a certain way and men act right around you. That's a sign of a true female that's respected.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
True beauty is found in struggle. It's finding peace in struggle. Right? Because there's only peace in struggle because you trust. That's where beauty is found. Like that's where beauty blossoms.
Yeah.
Right? For like, even think about the church and connection to Jesus. The more the church learns to surrender and believe and trust in Jesus, the more the church blossoms into
Right.
the bride that it was intended to be. Right? That's the beauty. But you see the perversion is trying to beautify yourself. You know?
And he said, that's convenient.
When we try to beautify ourselves, it's us proving ourselves. So, and then it comes out like that because all it takes is the right things to trigger you, and you just turn ugly.
Yep.
Because all your beauty is superficial. And when you can recognize that, you can realize like, oh, okay, I need help. You know, like if she can recognize that she needs help, right? She's not what she thinks she is.
Yeah.
She's not ready for.
She doesn't have it all together.
No, she doesn't. She needs help. When she realizes that, she can blossom, right? She can become, but you have to first. That's repentance. It's a change of mind, right?
Right.
It's recognizing I can't do it myself. I've been trying to do it myself because what she said, like, it's literally like what she said. The statement about God told, like God said, whatever. I don't remember how exactly she said it, but what that is that's pride.
Yeah.
You know, that's pride, and that's lifting yourself up because to yourself you seem like you got it together. You think you're looking like the image, but where'd you get the image from? You know, that's where idolatry.
But that's programming as well. That's
programming.
Yeah.
Exactly. Who gave us that image?
All right. Yeah, we get the point on that clip. She kind of they just go back and forth a little bit more about that. I think she reiterates that, you know, she feels like her purpose is so big right now that she, you know, God is saving her for a man when it's time. But I want to go to this next clip that you sent where they're talking this couple is talking in front of it looks like a relationship counselor. And she points out something very specific.
Yeah.
In this clip. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick. I hate these Instagram clips, man.
Yeah. They are annoying.
Perfect example. You feel that I need affection. And it's more about being seen. You're so in with the boys and cooking, and I appreciate it all to the max. But I feel like I'm a ghost in the house.
And I feel like I'm a robot.
That I see, and I acknowledge that 100%.
That sounds meaningful. That I'm a robot and that he feels like a ghost? No. I heard Drew say that when you say he needs affection, you're not hearing him. That he's saying he feels like a ghost, like you don't see him. I understand that. Well, that you did not convey that. Your response was, and I'm a robot.
And that is an issue. It's always but this. It's not, Like
It goes both ways.
And then she don't want to go to the counselor no more. They left. That's when she was like, okay, forget that counseling stuff. Yeah, I mean, that's a huge point that was made right there. Like, he's trying to explain how he feels, but she immediately brought it back to, well, what about me?
Yeah. Be slow to speak, slow to anger, quick to hear.
Yeah.
James, I think, is in James too. And dude, that to me, that's like, no matter if, and I've learned this with marriage, like I've learned this with my wife, like no matter if my wife might be dead wrong, but I'm gonna hear her out.
Yeah.
Because if I don't hear her out, I can't understand where she's coming from.
Yep.
Can't understand it. So, and that's my frustration that I don't understand.
Because it may not even be what she's saying.
Yeah.
It could be something that she's not telling you that bothers her, but she's trying to convince you that it's something else, and you know it's not that.
Right.
Yeah.
But and I think the point of this video is, we have to be willing to hear the other person out, and acknowledge that they feel that way for a reason, you know, and not just dismiss it like, yo, you're stupid. Like, what? But okay, you feel like that, but I feel like this. Like, but that doesn't address the issue.
You're just one-ing up each other at that point. Right?
Exactly. Like he was telling her that she gets so busy with everything on the day-to-day that he feels like a ghost in their house.
And honestly, I think from a man's perspective, I would say this, right? This is why a lot of men don't open up. Because a lot of men, when men open up, it's already a vulnerable thing. Because most men aren't taught to open and speak how they feel. You're taught the opposite.
Yeah.
Suck it up, hold it in, hide, run
happy
away.
wife, happy life.
Right. So a lot of guys feel, I'll just deal with it.
What was that joke? Remember the Dave Chappelle stand up when he was like, my wife said, we need to talk. And he was like, immediately I know if we need to talk about some things that I need to do. Right. We don't never need to talk about nothing that you
men
need
are not
to do.
Good, and honestly, men are not good at holding women accountable because we have men hit the gas so fast. It's really slowing them down and be like, no, I need you to listen. Like, there's a way you have to talk to people. And it's like, men, we all know we have, like, there's a way men can talk to each other before it gets physical. So we have that. We don't know how to be diplomatic and say, okay, well, I don't understand. Help me understand. Yeah. But let's get to, is what you're telling me, or is there something else? Because it could be something that happened way long ago that she's holding against you, but she doesn't know how to say that. So she's trying to figure out a way how to put it on the table. But all these other things have added up in the meantime. And now she's hoisting everything on you. Right. Could be that too.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of men also know that their integrity is not always where it should be.
That's the other part. That's a big part.
They avoid any conversations because they don't want to.
They're floored. Yes,
and they don't want to hear the things that are wrong with them either. You know what I mean?
This is why being a man of honor is so important. You know, it's important, and especially a godly man. Yep. You know, because if you lead with that first.
Yeah, and I think like this man in this video, he's having a hard time getting through to his wife, right? And so in that, that's where the solution needs to be. How do I connect to her? If I love her, because a lot of times, like you said, men feel rejected, will shut down because we're not used to opening up, right? But you can't let that be a hindrance.
No. Not
so learning how do we love greater? Yeah. We can't be offended that easily, right?
No,
right.
No.
We have to love in a way where, okay, I'm frustrated, but I know for me, it's always, Lord, help me in this. I don't know what to do. I'm frustrated. I don't know how to solve this thing. I don't know how to get through to my wife, right? And always when you take the side of love and hope, for me, it's always worked. It's never not worked, right? There's always a solution because he is the answer for everything, Jesus, right? It's in him. He literally is all we need. And again, we talked about this at the show, that if you're grateful in that, it shifts you from the anxiety and the stress and the frustration, right? But when you turn that, when you feel that thing, that anxiety, you got to recognize that your feelings aren't telling you what you are. It's telling you what you're dealing with. Right. So you have to know, this is what I'm dealing with. So now I have to go to the one who can order me in my feelings. I have to go to the one who knows, how to work through these things.
Right. And you have to be honest about, like, if I'm feeling anxiousness, if I'm feeling frustration, it's because there's something I'm afraid of. There's a fear there that I'm not checking within myself. You know what I mean? And like you said, that's when you need to go.
Yeah, what's the am I a weak man?
Yeah.
A weak husband. Not the husband I thought I was.
Am I disappointing
father.
my wife? Am I
Well, one thing she said in the video there, he said first, he said, I'm super appreciative of you cooking with the boys. Now, one thing men miss, or a lot of men struggle with, is that when they get married, they forget that a lot of times the tension that women feel, and a lot of the times the bitterness that creeps in on them, is when they feel that they're putting out more towards the family than you are.
Right.
So in other words, if she's always cooking for them, if she's always getting ready for bed, if she's always doing certain things, they will take that, internalize that you don't want to help me.
Yeah. She said, I feel like a robot.
I feel like a robot.
Yeah.
So what happens a lot of times, and I've heard this from many different men, is because they don't want to. Well, I do. She wants it done this way, and I do it this way, and it's a fight. So I rather let her do it. But what's the harm in saying, "Hey, what do you need help with? Show me," and you work together. And a lot of men will sit that out because they don't want to hear criticism.
Yeah.
So their thing is just go sit on the couch, watch TV, or go do whatever. And now she starts feeling robotic, so she holds him. She's not telling him, but she holds him responsible for not helping.
Yeah.
You're not helping me, so I'm holding you responsible.
And her
I'm a
reaction
robot.
to that is, if I'm a robot, then I ignore you.
And that's how she treats
Yeah.
him. Because I do this with the boys and you don't.
Right.
But what does that do? It puts her in a place of false power. And
She's definitely holding it over his head.
Because it's if I don't do this, it won't get done.
Yeah.
Right? If I don't take this on, it's not going to get done. But at the same time, and then I'm going to complain to you about that I have to do it all, right?
Or be distant a lot of times.
So it causes you to have control that you don't really want, right? And think you have things worked out, and then you say it. You're literally saying what it is for you, right? But so now you have to work all that out. As a man, I'm saying, like, in terms of, okay, this is what you're dealing with. You feel like you do too much. All right, I can do something for you. What do you want me to do? Oh no, you're not going to do it right anyway. Wait, you can't do that.
Yeah.
What do you want me to do? Of course I'm not going to do it like you, but I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
Right? Of course I'm going to do it differently, but I'm going to do it. And you got to be okay with that.
Yeah, and that's when men fall apart.
Yeah.
Because they can't say, hey, listen, hold on here. I'm willing to help you, but this is how, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, at the end of the day, I'm your husband. I'm not your child.
Yeah.
So let's have this conversation. I want to help, but you can't go around critiquing everything I do. You know, if you want to help, I'm willing to help. Now, if you want to show me, but you have to understand I'm your husband, I'm not your child, so you can't talk to me in a certain way. And I think men would be just rather, and they walk away and they get frustrated, you know.
Yeah, and I think, like Jake said, what it does is now it puts her in a false sense of control. And
because she's trying to prove that I'm better than you.
Right. And she will hold that control over you
course.
by withholding the sexual activity.
Right.
So
Punish
then it what that does is now your whole relationship is out of
Well,
order.
you become less attractive to her.
Right.
But she's put that on you.
Right.
But you've allowed her to put that on you. Right. Because
So now she doesn't desire you the same way.
Right. But when you stand up and say, listen, the way you're going about, the way you even see it is off. Right? You're saying, because again, women jump to conclusion. It's really how she sees it at the end.
Right.
And she's looking at the end from the beginning and she just wants to get to the end.
Yeah.
Right? But in the middle of that, she has all the problems.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Now talk about the reaction from men though. Because say she's doing that, what should the man do? Because there's a way you can circumvent that if you're a wise man. Because a lot of times women are setting you up. So like you said, she's setting you up so she can take authority over you. Because she really wants to say, I do more.
Right.
And this is why I'm not attracted to you.
And she really wants to, like what I was going to say, she really wants to put herself in that seat of the leadership over the family.
So I need you to commit these crimes so I can hold it against you.
Yeah.
But men fall apart. What do you think that is, though, with guys?
I think it's, like I said, I think it's fear of just losing access to certain, pleasures. I think it's part of it.
I think it's a breakdown in family. I think that at the core of it, it's a breakdown in family. It's a breakdown in what your roles are as a husband.
It's out of order.
As a father, as a wife, right? Because it's the man who has to set the order, right? He. How do you set the order? You become the foundation. How do you become the foundation? You have to take responsibility. You can't blame your wife.
Yeah.
Right? You married her.
Yep.
You can't blame her. I'm not saying that she does everything right. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is that everything that is out of order with her that you allow is not her fault. It's yours.
That's a perfect word. You allowed.
You allowed.
Yeah.
And so now it's like, it's not her job to figure that out. It's our job as men. But the thing is, we can trust in God. That's why, do you want to take this on yourself? Or do you want to, for me, it's so much easier that I have somebody that I can go to. I have the Lord, right?
Yep.
But I also have other men that I can talk to about these things. I can't talk, there's certain things I don't want to talk to a woman about because she's going to go into stress mode, where I can talk to a man and they're not going to go into stress.
Yeah.
They're going to just be like, okay, it's just something we deal with, right?
Right.
So, sir, you have to be wise in that. Okay.
Especially if it's a man with wisdom, because he could say, I understand what you're saying, but the way you worded that, the way you said that, you know what I'm saying? Because sometimes when we're in our feelings, you hurt me, I want to hurt you back.
Yep.
That's how it is. And we don't think of all right, but that's how we are. But women don't interpret that way. So how fixing that is being able to communicate with her and say, listen, what do you need help with?
Yeah.
You need me to cook on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursday?
Yeah.
What do you need to, because I see you're stressed, and acknowledging that. And then tell her, listen, you're taking out your frustrations here, and here, because you're looking for me to fail so you can charge me with a crime and then hold me in purgatory for that crime.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which could easily be fixed.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it, guys. We started this off with talking about, we were talking about the church and why men aren't in church.
Yeah.
Right? So, even in that, why? Because are the men in church, or are the pastors pandering to the women
100%.
right, to put them in a place of authority that they don't need to be put in?
Right.
Are we not holding the men accountable enough to say, listen, we got you? Not in a disrespectful way, but more in a we're here for you. Let's work this out, dude. Obviously you're struggling in these areas, right? We can see it. You can't hide from it.
Yeah.
Because I think that's the thing that men do. We go into isolation because of shame, right? And then we try to work this shame out on our own, and it's not gonna work.
And all marriages, we have all fallen short. We're still in a sin, even though we may be reformed spiritually, we're still in a sinful flesh.
Yeah.
So there's no marriage, there's no pastor, there's no elder who's living a perfect life. There's going to be conflict. It's how you're taught how to resolve this. And this is why the family structure, we always talk about, the mother, father, home, seeing things done. We talked about a long while ago, right here in this podcast, we talked about one of the things that parents don't do is when you have these disagreements, we run away, we hide it from the children. Now, I'm not saying cuss each other and throw things, but when there's a disagreement, the children, they see that, but they never see when you make up. How you resolve, hey, I'm sorry, or whatever. Now, I'm not saying go and practice this just to prove a point to them. I'm saying children need to see the model of life and how to respond through you first.
Yeah, the ability to respond.
How
That's
you handle
responsibility.
Yeah,
right?
The bad and the good.
I was wrong. And even apologizing to them.
Yeah.
When you're, babe, I was wrong about that. Daddy didn't mean that, or whatever.
Yeah.
There's a way that you cultivate where not everything is some deep theology message. It could just be a simple thing like, you said the basket was here, but it was over there. I was wrong. I'm sorry. simple things like that. What that kids see, they see how adults and husband and wife and their parents resolve issues, so they don't respond in a certain way.
Right.
But that is the deep.
No,
theology.
it's deep.
That is the deep. You know what
I mean like
But I know what
breaking
you're- I
out
know
the
what you're
sermon
saying.
on them
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
they're gonna
Right.
they're
I
gonna
mean,
get lost.
you lose them. Yeah.
You lose them.
I know what you're saying. Yeah, and then I mean, if you think about it, like we're supposed, it's about being holy, right? And I think when you hear that word's been so charged with like this thing that is unattainable. No, God says, "Be holy as I am holy," right? And how do we become holy? We don't do it. He does it, right? Love is the thing that sets us apart. When we step in under that love, we become separate. So the more we choose him, the more we trust him, the more we become separated to him. And then things start to be divided in the right way, meaning like Jesus said, I come to bring the sword, right? I come to divide households, right? These mothers, fathers, brothers, like households are being divided. Why? Because there's a lot of traditions, a lot of things we hold to that are out of whack, that are out of order, and it needs to be put
An
back into
acceptance
order.
of it.
Yeah.
Except we talk about culture, like within the Latino culture, it's accepted that the man's gonna cheat. He gonna have women across the street. And that's what it is. But says who?
Yeah.
Why does this have
Why
to
is
continue?
that acceptable? Yeah.
You know, and like I said, here's another part, right? We as parents, we're models to our children. So if your daughter see you treating her mom with respect and honor, but you're still a leader, she's gonna look for those kind of qualities in a man. Your son or who your son see his mom treating the dad with respect. We're not talking about falling out worshiping him. We're talking about respect and honoring her husband. That son looks for someone with those qualities.
Yeah.
It may not occur right away, but eventually, once he sees something that's out of order, whoa, I'm not used to this.
Yeah.
That's how it worked for me. You know, so I think sometimes we miss those little things. Those little details matter.
Right.
In the home, how we respond to each other, how we talk to each other, how we resolve matters. You know what I mean? That's important.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if anybody in the chat, you know, they want to add to this, if they feel like we're off, you know, let us know.
Yeah.
If they feel like,
Or if we're hitting that on the head.
yeah.
Let me play this one video you sent me. I don't know what it is.
It's like if you are emotionally reactive and are the type of woman where you just do whatever you want and say whatever you want when you're upset, but then expect all the things that you said to not mean anything when you guys make up, that's not okay.
Yeah.
And a man's still going to feel disrespected even if you make up, because that hurts.
Yeah.
Regardless of who you are, it hurts to hear your partner, the person you love, the person you marry, say mean and hurtful and disrespectful things to you, and then try to also be like, well, I was upset, it didn't matter.
Or just ignore it and just blow it over, like sweep it under the rug.
Right,
That
exactly,
too
or
can.
never acknowledge it.
Yeah, that's crazy. I definitely never understood that. Like when people just attack each other with the most hurtful stuff and like arguments and stuff, and then just move past it like, oh, well, I was angry, so you can't hold that against me.
Right.
Like that's crazy.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I think but again, in order for men to deal with that, you have to love. You gotta hold them account. You gotta hold people accountable. Like you shouldn't be saying that. You gotta think about like, why did you say this? You know, why you went there. This is where you went.
Yeah.
You got to deal with that.
Right.
Why are you going there?
Right.
You know, you might not even understand why you went there, but you went there. So don't just gloss over that. you
Right.
know?
And sometimes, you know, you might be in a position where you're around friends, family who may or say or react a certain way. You can help them come out of that with love, but in a stern way where you're saying, "Hey, that was wrong, man.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Don't speak like that. You shouldn't carry yourself like that." That's really it is. Both men and women, one of the things you can do is, yes, you know, people say mind your business, right? But if you love these people, you should be able to say, "Hey, listen, that was messed up.
Yeah.
You went too far."
Right.
You know what I mean? Or
We've had to do that with
We've had to do
men
that.
in our circles.
Right.
You know what I mean? We've had to do that.
And it's when you hold each, because you ultimately want him or her to come out of that, because you could be better than that.
Yeah.
You know, and ultimately what they're doing is you're drilling holes in your own boat. by doing this. You know what I mean? So the demise, if this continues, the demise is inevitable.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's the whole point of us as men coming together is holding each other accountable. But when we see these things, address it. But we address it in love.
Yeah.
So that way you come out of that, because you could be the arbiter of your own destruction. You don't even know, because you want to win.
Speaking of wanting to win, let's move on to the next topic. We hit
Man,
that
he's
for a
good
while.
at this, man. Segway king over here.
So, there's a huge competition going on right now in the world. It happens every 4 years.
Wait, I thought he was sharp and he was ready to go. He was.
Who are you
No?
talking about?
Joe.
No. he's not
Oh,
talking
no.
about that.
I'm talking about something else.
Okay.
I mean, a different competition. There's it's.
Oh, you're talking about the.
I'm talking about the Olympics.
All right.
Because we're talking about.
Messed up that line.
We're talking about, it's a different segue. Different segue. So, we're talking about Christianity. I heard people talking about it be, disrespected and things like that. And we're at a time where, the disrespect of Christianity is an all-time high.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, just as a respected faith in a world where we're supposed to respect everyone's right to be
Only
in a religion.
Christianity, though.
That's what I'm saying. It's the only religion that is like openly mocked, right? So, of course, for those that didn't see it, we'll play a clip of what happened at the opening ceremony of the Olympics this year. Let me pull it up real quick. So we got, first of all, I think the artist was like some weird, we'll look it up, but I'm sure, like, I think the guy that created this whole thing, he's like into some weird stuff.
Yeah,
Of course.
he is.
They always hire these weirdos to do these.
How weird are you?
Yeah.
Really weird? You're hired.
Yeah. Yeah.
Would you be willing to disrespect Christianity?
But
Yeah.
again, like most art, like the art that's very edgy,
yeah.
a lot of times has to do with entering into demonic stuff.
Yeah.
Right? That's art. That's like the point of the craft,
Right.
right? Artistry. It's about opening gateways and doors to places and bringing that in. Because what is art? Art actually shifts cultures.
Yeah.
Right.
So they definitely were trying to shift culture on this one. So here we go. So people were pointing out how this is a mock of the Last Supper painting, if you can see here.
Right,
and then on the table is...
But either way, I don't know, but were they all trans? I think
the big girl in the middle is not trans.
Okay.
But I
But the
think
rest is-
most of them. There is a child.
But there's a guy with his parts showing.
So they tried to debunk that. They said that it was a slit in the pants. It wasn't like there wasn't no junk showing. I heard. I did
saw
see-
junk.
It's cropped out on this one, but yeah. So and then there's a.
Ou cacher un revolver quand on est tout nu. Ou je sais où vous pensez, mais c'est pas une
Like they even have the halo over the big girl's head, you know, and I like how we're getting like a scary movie soundtrack in the middle of this right now from the piano upstairs. But someone was pointing out that this is supposed to be the Greek god, one of the Greek gods. This character right here in the blue.
Could be
Yeah.
Papa Smurf.
It looks like Papa Smurf.
Yeah. We'll get into it, right?
Okay. All right. So
Dionysus.
Dionysus, that's the one. Yes, yes. But there's a child there. There's a bunch of transgender people, and they are openly mocking the Last Supper.
Why not Allah?
Yeah. But I did see them come out and try to claim that this was not.
It was supposed to be another painting.
It was supposed to be a painting from like ancient Greece.
Because the backlash was swift. Because Brazil, they didn't let Brazil bring up the Jesus.
Yeah.
They told them if they brought Jesus on their boards,
Yes.
they would disqualify them.
Right.
So it was just not this one incident.
It's not just this
It was
one
multiple
incident.
incidents.
They were
yes.
other athletes who
Wanted to
are
wear-
Christians.
yes,
They would not
yes.
let them wear. They wouldn't let them do certain things, like celebration wise, which is weird. You know,
Only Jesus.
Only Jesus. But yeah, so this was the opening ceremony. It's like you said, backlash was swift,
Very
swift
yeah.
that in fact these clips don't even exist on
No,
the
I see him trying to clean it up real quick. Like I said, like even that, because the one I saw, the guy's stuff is out.
Yeah, I saw
So-
people posting that.
Right.
Like where one of the guys in, I think it's the guy, you can see him at the beginning here on the far left there.
Right there.
The
Yep.
far left.
Mhm.
They said that his genitalia were hanging out in that. But yeah, the Olympic Committee took all of the clips of this opening ceremony off their website completely.
Right. So not only this, but there was the golden calf.
Yeah.
There was the pale horse.
The pale horse, yeah.
Right. So they listen. It's obvious.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they had explanations for everything, but even their explanations it was all connected to revolution.
Yeah.
And it stemmed from the revolution of France, right? And excuse me, to it still going on, but in a different way.
Yeah.
Like, because it was the French Revolution,
Marie Antoinette,
which had to do with Marie Antoinette.
that was
with
that
her-
one image of the woman with the head chopped off that was
Yes.
singing, and then the metal music. Yeah.
Yeah. There was the sexual revolution. They call it the revolution of love.
Yeah.
See, taking that, twisting love again.
Mhm.
There was everything was about revolution,
Mhm.
but the mock is that we're winning. and
Yeah.
it's still going on.
Right. The
You know?
culture
So
war.
it doesn't matter like what you, how you want to act like you didn't do what you did. Like it's obviously has to do with the communion.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
With the disciples. Like,
Yeah. The Last Supper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they could come up with as much explanation as they want. They're clearly targeting Christianity
Yeah. Absolutely.
because they know that, let's be honest, Christians have sort of laid down.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, if they're so brave, why don't they do this with specifically Islam
Yeah.
or Judaism
Yeah.
or Buddhism
They
or
would-
Hinduism?
Definitely wouldn't touch Judaism.
They won't touch
wouldn't
that.
do-
Yeah.
they
Oh,
wouldn't do
all
it.
right. Okay. Yeah. Bravery goes away then.
Somebody put a side by side of Russia in 2014 and Paris in 2024, because Russia is the enemy of
Yeah,
the
they're
world.
banned. I heard they're banned.
Russia's so evil, right?
And I don't think they even wanted to go.
This is their opening ceremony. And then on the bottom, watch Paris at the bottom. The contrast is like drag queens dancing around all sexually. It's like a drag show, and then at the top is like class.
I would say that the response on social media, I'm thankful for social media, at least in the sense that if this was just an era with the news, it would have
Yeah.
been spun because they would control this, right?
Mhm.
But like I said, me seeing the clips and seeing certain aspects of it and them taking it down says that enough people have responded to it in such a way that they know that it wasn't received the way they thought it was going to be received.
Did you see all the Christians who came out praying afterwards?
Well, I didn't see that.
Right.
Thousands of Christians in France gathered to pray after Olympics opening mock Jesus Christ.
And dare I say this, right? As American and living here, I think this. One of the sad things is we're setting the tone for this because when you look at the Grammys, you look at the BET Awards, you look at all these shows here, we've set the tone for it. When you look at the symbolism, the satanic nature of it via the Grammys and what they have become, we're setting a tone for how the world sees it, and they want to one-up us because we represent such high levels of entertainment. So they're like, well, America's good. It's just that around the world people watch it, but they don't really care.
Yeah.
But the world is watching.
The world's watching.
So maybe they overgauged it because they've been so used, because I'm sure the same producers that probably produce some of this stuff have been hired as contractors to go over there and do this stuff to make it look extravagant.
Mm-hmm.
So we've been doing this for a long time.
Well, let me say this. I just went on iTunes, right?
Yeah.
And the number one song is "That's Who I Praise" by Brandon Lake.
The number one song
Number one song.
on iTunes? Wow.
Yeah. The number one album is "Child of God"
By who?
by Forrest Frank.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
So-
crazy.
So there is a little. He's beating Eminem right now, right?
Mhm.
Eminem's number 2. So there's something shifting, right? Because we wouldn't have seen this maybe like 5 years ago.
No way.
Right? So something's changing, and I believe that we have to continue in that.
Yeah.
But also understanding like what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
I love that we talked about the stuff with like women and men, because I think that's the basis of a lot of it, right? If you can destroy the foundation, which is a husband and a wife, you win the battle.
Yeah.
Right? This is why
It's
like
divided.
yeah, this is why in Ephesians he talks about the domestic life before he talks about the spiritual life. Right? He talks about husbands love your wives, right? Then he talks about children, and he even goes into how masters and servants are supposed to be, right?
Yeah.
Then he goes into we wrestle not against flesh and blood, right? But against powers, principalities. So we have to deal with the domestic.
Right.
We have to take responsibility. This is why I believe God says, like, love God. Why do we love God first? Because if we can't love him first, we won't be able to love ourselves. We won't be able to love others. Right? So we love him first with all our heart, all our strength, all our mind. That means, but we're engaging with others. So every time we're engaging with others and we fail, we can go back to him. He can show us the way, right? So now we're learning. We're engaged, right? We're engaged. We're in the fight.
Yeah.
That's the most important fight.
Yeah.
And if we can win that fight, everything else is gonna be, I'm not gonna say a cakewalk, but
Yeah.
but we're now you have to deal with the submission, right? You got to submit first. You got to deal with the submission. That's the domestic before you think you're gonna deal with the mission with God. You know what I mean? You got to deal with if your family isn't together, if your family isn't on point and locked in, right? Where do you think he's coming for first?
Yeah.
And that's what we were seeing happening. They're coming for your family.
Yeah.
They've told us this,
And what we're looking at too is this: like when one kingdom is taken down, what happens? It's replaced. So let's say, for topic's sake, the kingdom of family, the home life, when that is taken down and broken up, what replaces it? What comes in to replace it? Well, a husband and a wife, a mother and a father set order to a home. But without a husband and wife, chaos comes in.
Yeah.
That's the new kingdom. That's the new rule. It's chaos. Now it doesn't happen right away.
You know what kingdom that is, right?
Kingdom of Chaos.
Yeah.
It's Babylon.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a smaller version of a country falling apart. When a country is falling apart, when the family splits apart, it is the husband and wife, the husband is the head, the wife, and then the children, and then everything. This is not hard to understand.
Yeah.
If
you think about it, dude, like you saying that just makes me think back to when Israel or Judah was about to go into bondage with Babylon. They were selling each other into slavery. Like they were swindling and trying to find any way where they could take each other's land.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So they were like not loving each other whatsoever.
And
they were figuring out how to take and grow stronger.
Yeah.
Right? They were thinking about themselves. That's when they went into
and unknowingly brought their own destruction.
Yep.
That's what you do when the family is out of order. Husbands, men especially.
because it's not just think about it. They were a literal family. This is Israel, right? This is, you could even say Judah, like Judah was Benjamin. The land of Judah was mostly Judah, but then also Benjamin.
Yeah.
And Judah, this is a family,
They're family.
right? They're
Yeah,
family.
They're literally related.
Yeah. And they're tribes,
Yeah.
right? They're family, they're tribes. So it's extended out. And we got to live that way, right? We got to love. Why should we love one another? Because if you love people, you show them that you care. And that doesn't make sense to people. In this world, when you really care about somebody, you think that makes sense to them? No, they're trying to figure it out. Why would you do that? You know, me and Jamie were talking about this earlier. They're either going to think like, wow, why would they do that? Or they probably did this because of this, this, and this, right? So you do it again, and you do it again, and you do it again. Finally, they're like, wait a minute, you know? And what are we doing? Where it says like when you give somebody something to eat, your enemy something to eat, you what?
You heap coals on their heads. Yeah.
You heap coals of fire on their head.
Yeah.
So you're bringing judgment on them, but it's in a loving way, because the more you reject it, you're rejecting love. The more you're accepting judgment on yourself,
and you're causing conviction in them.
Right.
They're convicted now to be like,
yeah, the judgment is coming on them so that they can go through that fire and recognize like, wait, where can I look to for help? Oh, the ones that were, you know what I mean? That's why God even lets us go through what we go through.
That's also why he told Peter to forgive 70 times.
70 times, yeah.
Because
70 times 7.
Because he's looking for like, well, how many times am I supposed to forgive? Like
he can't wait to get back. So I want some get back.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, you don't understand. Like every time you come back and forgive them again, you're now taking that burden off, that judgment off of yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard that plenty of times. That was one of the best explanation. Forgiveness isn't for them, it's for you.
Yeah.
You're carrying around, because you think that you're doing something, you're carrying around the burden.
Right.
You're hoisting that heavy load. You know?
Yeah.
And that's 70 times 7 is 490.
Yeah.
And that is a number like that's a number connected to perfection, right? So how do we move in perfection? We love people. We keep forgiving them, you know, over and over again. You think about it, like that were number 70. They were when the land of those people in Judah that were doing each other wrong and, you know, swindling each other and putting each other in slavery.
Yeah.
When that was happening, Babylon came in and put them into bondage for how many years?
70
years.
Yeah.
Right. So even that number has to do with it's a judgment, but it's the number 70 has to do with seeing or experiencing. You know what I mean? So it's like, why are you experiencing this? There's a reason why you're going through this experience. If you humble yourself, you'll find the real reason.
Yeah.
If you don't humble yourself and you're prideful, you're not going to get it, right?
Or you'll destroy yourself.
And yeah.
Did you guys see when the power went out after the opening ceremony?
No.
You didn't see it?
I didn't watch any of this.
I haven't watched.
I haven't watched.
Well, you know, me either. But I've seen everything all on X. So yeah, apparently, right after the opening ceremonies, take a look. All of the power in Paris completely went out.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah,
it's very interesting.
And they were showing how like the only thing that was lit up was like the big cathedral. The only thing that had power. I didn't get that clip, but they were showing it. Like this was the only thing that still had power was the church. But my whole thing with the Christians and the outrage from the Olympic thing, and I told you a little bit about this earlier. Like immediately when it happened, I was thinking like, yo, but the Olympics were games that were dedicated to Greek gods. Like, why are you expecting them to honor Christianity through these games?
And you know, to add on to what you're saying, Yeshua, the true Last Supper, wasn't a painting by Da Vinci.
No, absolutely not.
You're offended by
something that really has nothing to do with Jesus.
If you saw where that Last Supper was, it was nothing like that.
Yeah.
So I was listening to this guy I typically listen to, and he broke it down. Now he's very happy that Christians are standing up.
Yeah.
But he, like you said, the Olympic Games were. If we saw what the Olympic Games really were, we wouldn't be jumping around, oh, the Olympics here, because it was gruesome.
Yeah.
But him pointing out those things that we have set up as idols, because that picture is an idol.
Yep.
That picture is in many so-called believers' home, and that's not what happened
and
at
these
all.
games are an idol.
Right.
These games are
That was a great point for me when I heard it this morning when I was riding, and I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like, you're offended, but you're offended at
You're offended at something that never was ours.
Right. And
like,
who drew this thing?
Yeah.
Who gave you this interpretation of what it was?
Right.
Because
and what did he believe?
Right.
What was he
And I was
really
like,
into?
"Dang, that's a really good point. I was like, okay. He's like, the Last Supper was held in a room with men who loved and respected each other. Not all of them, if we know.
Yeah.
But this was a symbol of how to come and break bread and God imparting himself on.
And it's where Jesus taught them the communion.
Right.
Yeah. But I think, Christians,
though they may try.
Yeah. I think a lot of Christians, and not only Christians, because like we were talking about it earlier, Andrew Tate goes out there and he starts making the statements about like, this would never happen to Islam, and Christians are soft and they let, there's no one that will stand up. And he goes out there and he's protesting on behalf of Christians. I'm a Muslim, but I'm still gonna, it's like, and I think he said something about like Christians will say, turn the other cheek. Christians will say, like, he's like, no, that's weak. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I'll push back a little bit on the Olympic thing. I think that there are things, and I think like the Olympics, that are redeemable, that although it might have came from a different place, you can still work in that and move in that and shine the light in that.
Of course.
So I'll just push back a little bit in terms of like it could still be used.
Right.
Because if we just remove ourselves from that, there's nothing happening.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then with the whole like picture thing, I think, the Da Vinci thing and the Last Supper, I think it's more about the symbolism. I think it's more about paying attention to what's going on there than being. I think if you're offended and outraged, you'll miss what's happening.
I think that's what he was saying.
Yeah.
He's like, you're focusing on that and you're outraged at something, but you're not looking deeper.
Yeah.
Yeah. And those are the kind of the videos that I brought up kind of go into like a little more in depth in terms of like, what's going on here?
Okay.
What are they paying attention to? Where is he getting his inspiration from? This artist. Right?
Yeah. Okay.
And people loving it. Why are people so enamored by it? On the other end of it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's a whole nother conversation. All right, let's play a little bit of it.
We need to understand who Bacchus is.
Okay.
And like sort of why would I say that?
Yeah,
That
he was
sounds
related to Zeus, right?
Yeah, he was his son. Yeah.
Okay.
And so it sounds crazy.
Legitimate son?
Hear me out.
It's Bacchus. It's this is the Roman god, right? Dionysus is the Greek one, but basically, so when he's saying Bacchus, I'm messing the name up probably, but speaking of the same god,
Okay.
right? Because obviously the Romans got a lot of their stuff, like like Aries, Mercury,
Right.
Same.
The Greeks got a lot from Egypt, and then the Romans got a lot of theirs from Greek.
Yeah,
Right.
Does Zeus have any legitimate children?
A good point.
Yeah.
And not to be completely unhinged either, but
Yeah.
I mean, we believe Zeus was a real being, right?
A spiritual being.
We're not
that
talking
people
about
call
Greek.
Zeus.
That's where, and I think most of you guys who have listened to us a lot are getting this. When we talk about Zeus or any of these past fallen gods, we don't believe that it's just mythology. That
A
it's
cultural phenomenon.
Yeah,
people
or
put a name on.
right.
Yeah.
I mean, when we say Zeus, we mean a fallen Elohim who is representing himself as the god of lightning.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. So there are lots of competing sort of stories. Some of them are he's the pure son of Zeus. Some are he's the half son of Zeus, Zeus and Semele. Some are he's not even Zeus's kid. He's some other kid. But most of the stories, the most popular one is that he is the bastard offspring.
So what you're telling me is
Semele.
a bunch of lying fallen gods can't get their story straight.
That's that's exactly right. That's not even in the notes. That's really good. Yeah. That's really good. And so Zeus has this lover named Semele. He had lots of lovers that were human women. And Hera finds out. Hera kills Semele. Actually, she tricks Zeus into killing Semele. Long story. But Hera kills Semele, and then Zeus sort of, as the story goes, put Dionysus in his thigh to continue the pregnancy, which is cool. And so
how does that work?
Whatever. So he carries Dionysus to term, gives birth to Dionysus through his thigh. And then he had a pretty hard life. Hera literally drove him to madness on several occasions because she just tortured him and was cruel to him and all these kinds of things. Through all of his life, he actually, as the story goes, he created wine. He discovered what that was. He taught man how to cultivate grapes, how to ferment the juice, all those kinds of things. That's where he gets tagged as the god of wine, which is like his main thing.
Which is
So
super
real quick, that's the entity that you saw the guy when they
lifted the thing,
lift up the veil.
Yeah.
That's him singing.
Right.
The guy in
the
blue.
god of wine.
Right. Well, he's not just the god of wine. They'll go into it.
Okay.
Think that he would show up at the Lord's Supper.
Yeah.
The god of wine.
Yep.
Imagine that.
Yep. And so just trying to steal stuff from Christ. But he's the god of wine first and foremost, and then connected right to that is the god of ecstasy. And so if you think like a frat party turned into a deity, like that would be Bacchus or Dionysus. And so strong drink, drunkenness
leads to other things,
all kinds of, and then he sort of becomes the god of all of the fallout of those things. So it's wine and ecstasy, and then all the stuff that those things produce. He also sort of becomes the god of those things too.
In terms of like fertility.
Yeah, he's worshipped as a god of fertility.
I see.
Yeah, and so let's see. So discovered wine, became the god of wine and ecstasy. And so ecstasy, I have here in my notes just orgies. I know that's a rated R word, but that's just what was happening.
It's in the Bible.
It was wild, and you saw it you saw it. We're not going to go there, but you saw that in the ceremonies.
Yeah,
there was an alluded to orgy in the ceremonies.
Yep.
I mean, we're not making this stuff up. Front and center for the whole world to see and coming out of this opening ceremony. So anyway, god of the fertility because of that. One of the things you have to know, because he's also considered the god of madness. The god of madness. And so that's going to be because of a fine line between ecstasy, complete loss of self-control in a good way, and complete loss of self-control in what's perceived as a bad way, would be madness.
Right.
And so he really dances that fine line. Christians would look at this and say, our culture is mad right now. I would say, sounds a lot like Dionysus.
Sure. So who specifically is giving him these titles, such as god of wine, god of ecstasy, god of madness, god of fertility?
I think the cultural view or the secular view, materialist view, let's do that. Materialist view would be that people observe things in culture that were happening anyway and then just attributed a deity to them. What's really happening is there's a spiritual being who is exhibiting an influence on society. And when that spiritual being exhibited influence on society, these were the fingerprints of that deity. Because not all deities or not all cultures were doing these exact things.
So being the god of wine, being the god of ecstasy, being the god of madness, that also puts him associated with a particular type of ceremony / ritual, right? Which is what we really want to focus on as we're kind of trying to tie this in.
Yeah,
to
and
what's
that's
happening.
called Bacchanalia.
Okay, Bacchanalia.
Bacchanalia was a festival celebrated anywhere 4 to 5, 6 times a year, and it comes from his name Bacchus, right? It was wild, and it was characterized by just uninhibited gatherings. So drunken,
uninhibited.
Can you pause for a second?
Yeah.
Is that a derivative of Bacchanal?
Could be.
Because in Trinidad we have Carnival.
Yeah.
And they call it.
They call it Bacchanal. Yeah. What is Carnival all about?
Yeah.
It's about getting all those desires out before Lent. So it's like a mixture of this celebration and Catholicism mixed together.
Right.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Use your imagination.
Everything.
Yeah. Bacchanalia.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's in plenty of calypso songs.
Yeah.
And like that's the whole thing. It's to go out and not be mischievous, but like act wild.
Yeah. Literally from Bacchus. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. That's it. Oh wow.
Dang. Interesting. See, you didn't even know.
I didn't even know that. I've heard that plenty of times.
But think about the spirit around Carnival.
That's true.
Reason why your parents never let you guys go.
That's true.
You know, think about what that is. Think about Mardi Gras.
Right.
They're the same. They're all the same.
It's how funny how they just changed the same thing, just changed, man.
Right.
Wow.
When you hear about those 7-headed beings, right? It's like,
wow, man.
It's the same being. It's
I've heard it before.
Right.
I just didn't until he said it. I was like,
yeah, and that's connected to, this whole period in Lent, right? And giving up your desires for Lent.
One last
so you do one last
right
debaucherous party. Yeah.
My dad, I mean, obviously you know him and you guys know him. He was against this stuff, and for a long time, maybe it wasn't explained in depth why.
Yeah.
But now that you're hearing, like I said, these gods of old, they're basically principalities.
Yes.
That have just morphed. They're the same, but it's like it's just changed throughout time.
People have given them different names, and they presented themselves differently to different, regions around the world. But yeah, we've talked about this many times. Like even in the Book of Enoch, like when he talks about how they came and taught men how to make strong drink, like all of that is in there. Yeah. They taught them how to manipulate plants, and these watchers or fallen angels, sons of God,
or Elohim,
they came down and were the men of renown that it talks about, that like they taught, they presented themselves as gods to all of these nations around the world.
Right. And then even in terms of, like, we were just talking about the 70, right?
Mm-hmm.
And those 70 years, but also that Judah went into Babylon, right? But here's another thing that happened at Babylon. Right, because if you look at the Hebrew, Babylon is literally Babel, like in the Hebrew.
Yes,
it's just Babel. It's not Babylon. It's Babel, right? What happened at the Tower of Babel?
Confusion.
It confused their tongue.
Confused their tongue.
Yeah.
But it says go and read this for yourself, guys. Don't read it in King James because it won't say that. But if you look at the Greek, if you look at the actual Hebrew, it's the sons of Elohim. It's the sons of God. In Deuteronomy 32, where Moses speaks about, listen to your, ask your fathers when they divided the nations amongst the sons of God. So that 70 comes up again there. 70 nations.
I never read that.
Yeah. Wow. This is in Deuteronomy 32. There were it doesn't say the 70 nations there, but it says it in other places.
But even him saying the sons of God.
Yeah.
Sons of God, because in the Old Testament, when you say sons of God, it refers to what? A direct creation of. That's how I understand it to be.
No, the sons of God are the ones that descended down and
sons of God are in that way, Bene Elohim, which it says in the Hebrew, are they're servants of God. They're created beings. They're Elohim. They're beings.
They're what the Book of Enoch
beings.
calls the Watchers.
Right.
Yeah, or spiritual entities. Right. So you had the sons of God in Genesis 6, Bene Elohim in Genesis 6, where those were the ones that were put in chains in Tartarus. Peter talks about it, right? Jude talks about it.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that are put in chains. This happened before the flood, right? But then at the Tower of Babel, there were sons of God that were put over these 70 nations, right? Because God divided them into 70 tongues, 70 nations. Those are 70 angels, right? 70 Bene Elohim entities. And he gave them over, but eventually he's going to reconcile them back to them. If you look at Psalms 82, it speaks about these Bene Elohim that he put over these nations. They were actually causing them to... They weren't judging the people's... They were judging the people basically impartially, or partially, I should say, right? Where they were allowing things to happen. Why? Because they wanted to take worship for themselves, right? So this is what Psalms 82 talks about. So, and a lot of the stuff people don't know, but it's all in there.
Yeah,
it's all in there. So the Tower of Babel. Confusion again, right? This confusion, this Babel that happened where all these different tongues happened because there was one tongue, right? And it was because people were becoming one, but in a perverted way, right? They were having unity, but in a perverted way. So God divided them into 70 tongues, right? 70 nations. And he, out of those 70 nations, he took for himself Abraham, right? Because that's Genesis 11, where it talks about Babel, right? Genesis 12, what happens? Takes Abraham out of this 70 nations, right? So, and takes Abraham for himself to become a nation for himself. This is where Israel came from, right? So, and then through Israel would reconcile all the nations back to God. Right. And this is what happens in Psalms 2. Right. So all this stuff, it makes sense if you understand the Bible, but a lot of people, we don't know these things because we grow up with our own traditions. Yeah. Right. But when you research it, you'll start to realize it. So this is what they're kind of talking about, because these gods were in play at the time of Jesus. These gods were in power. But Jesus he dethroned them, right? Then he sent out his people, he sent out his apostles to go and take the kingdom. So they went to these lands and they dethroned these gods. This is why these gods aren't out and open. They were being worshipped in temples, right? All over Europe. Yeah. Or especially Europe. Asia, right? Asia Minor. Yeah. They were being worshipped. Yeah. Why aren't they around anymore? Because they went under hiding. They went into hiding because the power of God prevailed in those areas. So now there's no more of that. You don't have those things happening anymore.
Not out in the open.
But now,
but their desire is to be back out in the open.
To bring it back.
Their desire is to have temples risen to them again. You know.
Right. That's why it says like that the darkness gets greater, right? In the last days, it'll be darker.
The days of Noah.
It'll be like the days of Noah. Yeah. So it'll get darker, right? But then the light shines brighter. So we can't be afraid of these things. And I think that's a lot of what we can get a response from Christians that they're afraid. No, I think this is a religion that's going to try to come up. Because if you look at it, dude, these people act like it's a religion.
They
right?
do.
It is
Absolutely.
religion,
Yeah, it is 100%
worshiping.
is. Yeah.
But they just don't have any comprehension of what they're worshiping. But it's see how it's the artist who go back and find these things, and then they show you. They
present it to you.
They present it to you
on a global stage right there. They just presented the God to them that they've been worshiping.
Because again, art is connected, just like what we do, right?
Yeah.
It's connected to worship.
And look how they revealed it on the table of the Last Supper for them, with the big reveal. Like, this is the God you all been worshiping.
Yep. Yeah.
You know,
it's crazy.
All right, let's keep
Really,
going.
uninhibited, literally everything.
Yeah.
This likely originated in Greece as fertility rituals and were brought to Rome around 650 BC. Also, it strikes me as interesting that Zeus does it, Dionysus does it. All of these gods just want to get women pregnant. Like, that's just a huge part of it. And that just sounds like Genesis 6.
To me, it feels
Genesis
more
6,
like
yeah.
it's just a destruction of marriage. I mean, do you think?
Ooh, I like that. I think that's true.
It's bringing death to the marriage bed, and I
Real
think
quick,
that,
who are these guys?
Yeah, I don't
These
know.
guys got a podcast. It's called Veiled Kingdom. And I just came across them not too long ago and been watching it because they have some good stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
It's one of those things where the pregnancy kind of confirms that the deed was done. It's almost like I get it in Genesis 6. There's a whole other strategy, a satanic strategy that's taking place in Genesis 6. But I think the reason that they're so obsessed with pregnancy is not because they value the creation of life or the meaning of life, but it's because when you have two people out of wedlock that come together and create this thing, it is actual living proof that thing took place and a constant reminder that thing took place.
Yeah.
It like marks it. You know what I mean?
think that's good. It's the first fertility coming out of ritualistic, religious orgy ceremonies.
Yeah.
That's exactly. Yeah. That's good. I think that's good. So the festivals would be characterized by sort of an initiation period. It's like a 10-day process that involved abstaining from sex, a solemn meal, purification by water, and then would enter into the sanctuary. Again, this was a religious festival, not just a wild party.
Yeah.
Orgies were characteristic of these: feasting, drinking, sexual experimentation, even into the evening. So loud music, drunkenness, mingling of the sexes and classes, which sounds rather benign to us, but to them that was a big deal.
Yeah.
Other activities: animal sacrifices, crimes, robbery, murder, because drunkenness, everyone's going crazy. And then the seduction of children was even a part of this. And so, aka grooming.
Yeah.
Right? And that's totally not happening in our culture right now.
Right.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know what's crazy? You said that. I just saw someone unearthed an artifact. Not too long, not recently, but in a while back, and it was Pan. It was made out of marble, and it was Pan, the goat, half man.
Yeah.
He's playing a flute,
Right.
but he's like enticing little children.
That was what Pan. That's what Peter Pan comes from.
to follow him.
That's what Peter Pan comes from.
But in that same thing, there was him involved in a bestiality with, and I mean, he's already half.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But still, it's like these weird little things that we don't know, like Peter Pan.
It's funny that you mentioned Pan, because when you were talking about like those gods being worshipped even in Jesus' time, where did he go when he talked about the gates of hell will not prevail? It was in front of the temple where they worship Pan.
Yep.
I mean, this thing is old. They said it's like thousands of years old.
Yeah.
This statue.
Yeah,
you know?
like this. They were still worshiping that God in the time of Jesus.
Yeah.
And this is a God that is about pedophilia.
Yeah. That's what they were saying. It had the eerie music. Somebody put it, but it was like, this is, and he plays a flute and he entices children. So then weekend I was watching some movies and I saw the Chronicles of Narnia.
Yeah.
And in there, the opening scene is when the little girl meets dang, I can't remember the name of the creature.
But it's a Pan looking.
Yeah.
It's a half goat.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? And she follows him and he
follows
tricks
him.
her.
Yep.
He tricks her. Like she meets him in the forest and he tricks her. Tomlinson.
Yeah.
Mr. Tomlinson was his name. The guy who plays Professor X, the British actor. And he's playing a flute.
Yeah.
And he tricks her and causes her to fall asleep.
He was the Pan god.
I was like, wow, it's so crazy how this stuff is all. It seems silly, like a little art or whatever it is, or old, but it really does have meaning.
Yeah.
And these entities live through that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because you're worshiping it.
Yep.
And so the festivals, they were so bad that the Roman Senate in 186 BC prohibited the festivals throughout Italy because of their reputation for orgies and fears of immoral behavior.
Which says a lot coming from the Roman Senate.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. If they're banning something, it was horrible.
Yeah. I mean, imagine how bad it is. It's just, the
You mean
Romans were
grown
like,
men
that's
twerking in the streets now?
If they're banning, because we got to understand, guys, like in the Roman times, it was legal to have slaves. It was legal to have sex slaves. It was legal to have children sex slaves. So it was legal to do this, right? So if they're banning something,
This festival must be
on another level.
This must be gay pride times a million.
Yeah, and if you think about that, like, because I was watching something the other day, with a gay woman who she was just talking about how it's just something I was watching. I think it was a podcast, and it was a gay woman who was saying like these gay pride parades I don't even go to anymore. They're too much for me.
Yeah.
So you see how there's levels to this. There's like you're here, but then it's not just gonna go there.
Yeah.
It's gonna go beyond.
Gonna keep going. Yeah.
And then go further and further and further. It never stops. Right? Because again, it's about power.
Right.
It's about power. It's gotta overcome in every way possible.
Yeah.
Because it can't look like anything. The more power these entities have is when it draws you completely and totally away from God. So it can't look anything like God. If we were made in the image of God, then it wants people to worship them completely and totally, not looking anything like God that we were made in the image of.
Right. Wow.
Yeah,
like they were killing people by lions and like sacrificing
Well,
children.
they were having their own orgies and stuff too. Like,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
but there was something about these that took it next level.
It's just bad, man.
And that is the ceremony that is being put
That's right.
on display. This thing that the Romans had to ban is what's being put on display on public television in the Olympic ceremony. It's just nuts.
Nailed it. That's exactly right. And so what we are witnessing in these opening ceremonies is Bacchanalia.
Wow.
And it's even more than that. It's being lauded as the way that things should be.
That's crazy.
Things should be like this. That's crazy. And so as Christians, we want to see this a lot of the times because of materialism. Again, here at Veiled Kingdoms, we want to unmake materialism. People see it as pure secularism. Like this is just the absence of Christianity. But it's actually way more than that. It's a new spirituality that we have to be ready for. And they're all but telling us that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, and it's putting it under the guise of this thing that Christians hold as sacred. I mean, it is a sacrament, the participating in the Lord's Supper, and they are shadowing in this gross...
Real quick, just something that I'm thinking about. You remember Lemonade, right?
Yeah.
Beyonce. Okay. And everybody, I remember so many people like, oh, she's just so artistic, right?
Yeah.
And just like you can, he's an artist, right? This guy. Oh, Beyonce is just so artistic. No, they're just doing witchcraft. They're literally taking things and learning about these things that most people don't really know about because they're not delving into these things, right? And they're bringing them forward. So, because in that same Lemonade, I remember she had this one line that I wipe something about I
wipe my menstrual blood with the
pages
pages of the Bible. Yeah, we
right?
talked about that on the podcast when that came
so,
out.
I never heard that.
You never heard that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell all these women in church who are Beyonce fans about that one.
But even that is connected to witchcraft because there's power in the blood, right? And there's power in the life. Life is in the blood, so there's power in the blood, right?
Yep.
So it's a perversion of a principle, right? Everything we're talking about. What are we talking about, James? Who are these? They're what? They're called principalities, right? So these why are they called principalities? Because they know how this natural world works and the laws that were set in place so that everything could work. And think about all the things that happen all around us that we have no control over, right? But when we do witchcraft, we tap into those elements, those elemental principles, right? To get a desired effect in the way we desire it, right? So like Beyonce, who's doing these things, she's tapping into things, and then she's telling you about it in her music and presenting it to you. And because you don't know, you're uninitiated, right? You're ignorant in terms of what she's doing. You just think it looks cool, and she's so wise or beautiful or oh my gosh. But what she's doing really is she's just putting you under a spell, right? And manipulating things for her own good to serve her, right? But it's all a perversion of principles that God has set in place, right? So principalities will guide you, spirit guides. They'll guide you in a realm of the spirit that is unclean, right? God is clean. So the realm they guide you in is unclean. And this is like connected to John 10, where it says that if you enter any other way but through me, because he says, I am Jesus, I am the gate. What are you?
I'm sorry, I'm trying to find this Beyonce.
If you enter in any other way but through me, you are a
thief and a robber.
You're a thief and a robber because you're stealing. You're stealing. It's illegal knowledge. Right? It's not entrusted knowledge by God. It's taken illegally. Right? So you're a thief and a robber. Right? Just like the ones who gave it to you are thieves. Because what are you doing? You're stealing from God and you're stealing from others. Right? For your own gain. That's what a thief and a robber is. So you have all these manipulations, and these things are happening wherever people are tapping into trying to receive stuff for themselves, right? Being selfish, caring about only themselves, looking at things in the view of how it's going to affect me instead of how's it going to affect the world? How's it going to affect my family? How's it going to affect their families? How's it going to affect the next generation and the next generation? Nope, they're not thinking like that, right? They're only thinking about the here and now, right?
That reminds me too, speaking of Genesis 6, is when in Jude, speaking of the fallen angels, when he's talking about giving up their first estate, going after strange flesh, you're talking about these spiritual entities who ultimately desire to be worshipped. They had a purpose. God gave them a purpose, but once they sinned, that purpose fell into a satanic evil nature, and ultimately they want worship. Right. Well, something interesting about the homosexual movement is a form of worship. They want to come out. Even when you see a homosexual man, he's so effeminate that even women don't act like that.
Yeah,
it's extravagant. It's what we're seeing here with the Olympics. It's a form of worship.
It's almost a want to be worshipped.
And that's what these fallen beings want. They ultimately want to be worshipped. They're not in a physical form, but through idols and through behavior, they get worship, they get praise. And this is what they were saying, giving up strange flesh. And so too, we are in a time where, because we've given up the natural use of a man and a woman, it's a form of worship. They want to worship, and they want you to celebrate them. That's what they're doing.
I was I was lost on this Reddit thread because I found the lyric is, I plug my menses with the pages of the holy book. That's what she says in the song, right? So there's people on Reddit like debating over what she means by this.
Yeah.
Because of course, like, it sounds bad. And it's just funny, like the first person says, so Beyonce has this voiceover in her new visual Lemonade and says, plug my menses with the pages from the holy book. Some people are saying she's using the Bible as a tampon. I think she means that she used the Bible to protect her reproductive organs since she had a miscarriage and all. What do you guys think? And then they all go on and on to debate
I don't listen to
this topic.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And they're like, of course, these are people that are like, again, they worship Beyonce,
right? So they're trying to find anything.
They have to be able to justify that or rectify that with the fact that they're also Christians, or you know what I mean, how satanic that sounds.
I like it, so I'm gonna make excuse for it.
Yeah, exactly, pretty much. All right, is that it for that?
I think there's a little more.
There's a little more. Okay.
Spiritual fallen Elohim ceremony that's associated with all these false gods. And we're supposed to sit here and think, oh, well, that's just secularism, just pulling from something from the past. No, there is something going on here. There are fallen spiritual beings who were cheering at the idea that this was taking place. There are fallen spiritual beings who helped orchestrate this thing taking place in ways that we just can't imagine. It's just another example of Christians ignoring the supernatural.
And
we just want to make it secular.
Yeah, which is so ironic.
Yes.
For Christians to be, it's ironic. The God is even named. Now, a French person's probably not going to say, yeah, we worship Bacchus. Right. I understand that. But how long until that's more socially acceptable to say something like that?
Well, and even if the general public type person wouldn't say that, there could certainly be people in the higher ups that are participating in these types of things. I mean, we know we see that in the A tier, A class type people here in the States. And so it wouldn't be a reach to think that that's happening in France. But the problem is these people, whether they know it or not, are messing with powers that they don't completely understand. And they're putting them on display through the ceremony.
It's like these gods have been here the whole time. These beings have been here the whole time.
Great
and now
metaphor.
Western culture is sort of rediscovering this phenomenon.
And we don't know what to do with it.
And these beings are like, yes, we're totally not here. And as this continues to progress, these beings will not so much be behind the scenes anymore as much more.
And then they'll go, yes, we are totally good.
That's exactly right.
And we have your best interest in mind.
Which is,
this is why.
And that's the image that we're seeing with Bacchus center stage. Is he's like, if you're like me, the world will be a better place.
I mean, Kelly Clarkson said it.
Yeah.
She's like,
crazy.
Oh, look at this sweet thing that's happening.
That's right.
Everybody's welcome at this table.
Yeah. Here's what you need to understand. This is the same spirit that was at work in the ancient world, even before the birth of the church. Okay. Very old. Okay. It's the same spirit that's at work in Pride Month. Right. It's the same spirit that's at work in turning men into women and women into men, or men and women into nothing. Okay. And it's the same spirit causing all the madness in today's societies that we are experiencing. The problem is that we as Christians don't know this. We so quickly go, oh, it's just Satan.
We blame Nietzsche or
we blame some philosopher, or we just go, oh, well, it's Satan. And I'm like, and it is that.
Yes.
He is the chief rebel. But we can actually be more specific than that. What is the game plan right now? Well, the game plan is what we saw with Bacchus.
Right.
That's what we should expect. And so if you can know
being
the inversion of men and women, the inversion of like some madness. So we should expect cultural madness and familial instability. We should expect the genders are being blurred. We should expect that children are being groomed into being sexual deviants. We should expect those kinds of things.
Because it is the death of all things good.
That's right.
It is the undoing and the destroying of all things good.
And it's specifically Bacchus versus Aries. Right?
Who's doing something else?
Who's doing something else. And so all of these things do have spiritual realities behind them. And it's not just material causes from cultural war. Like that's so much bigger than just cultural war.
And I think I might clarify when because I want us to have a proper understanding of this. I want us to be thinking about this the way that I think the Bible, scripture, calls us to understand it, is that, yes, it's Bacchus and he's doing this thing. But I think, I feel like if we could actually open up the veil and look beyond it, it's Bacchus as general over this particular thing. And there are all these other, we just talked about on our last episode, the demons that are this subset of fallen Elohim that are all waiting underneath him. And so he probably, it at least seems like he would have his own forces at work as well.
I think so. Which is like on
just to get a little understanding of this, like, how does this work in terms of, like, how do we make this practical? Right. And what are they saying? Like, oh, he's the general, and there's divisions of demonic beings under. Well, we spoke about this before, but like, think about a thought that you get in your head, and where do these things come from? Sometimes people get thoughts, and it's like, where the heck did that come from? You know? And then you just deny it and know, like, well, that's not. I don't feel that way. So, and sometimes if you accept it. Right, you let it in because it makes sense to you, right? And the more you think on it, it becomes a part of your mental structure, right? And how you are seeing things,
right?
Perceiving things, right? So and the more you rely on it, it becomes a part of what you're trusting in, right? And how you're perceiving the world. So it literally gives you a world view, right?
Right.
It gives you a world view. It puts some makeup on the world, how you see the world.
Yeah.
See what I mean? So, but it all starts with thoughts, right? It all starts with thoughts, and the thoughts connect to your feelings, right? Because the thoughts tell you how you feel, right? So you feel a way. This is why you feel that way. Right. And they want to it's about justification.
Yeah.
Right. And it's the same thing with God. God wants you to know why you're feeling what you're feeling. Right. So again, this is why it says you can't serve two masters. Right. You're going to hate one, love the other, because an unclean spirit is going to tell you something totally different than the Holy Spirit or the clean spirit. Right. That is going to speak to you in a holy and clean way, right? And an unclean spirit is going to be forceful and try to force things on you, speaking to your ear over and over again, trying to get you to hear stuff, like not just from just your thoughts, but also from other people, you know, other people telling you stuff. So, but what God does is he speaks to us a lot from people, but once we're able to hear, he's going to speak to us directly, right? He's going to speak to our hearts. And then it changes our mindset. So now how do we guard against these things? Now we're learning how, as we trust in him, we're creating new mindsets, a new worldview, how we perceive the world, how we're viewing the world. We're becoming stronger because the more we see it that way, the more we become strengthened in his pride, right? In the Lord's pride, right? And the other thing is, when we're getting hit by other people that don't see this, especially the ones that we love, because this is who we're going to practice on the most, right? The ones that love, because if you love somebody, you're going to be more willing to listen to them, right? Or endure with them, right? That's what love's about. So you're going to endure more. So these are the people you're going to do life with, right? And so now you get to work these things out with people. This is why we can't be isolated. This is why, think about isolation creates people who become like the guy Crook, right? Who go and shoot people, right?
Yeah.
If
you believe that story.
Well, there's something there, right?
Yeah.
Even if it's twisted, there was something with him, right? So, or you can say other shooters, right? But a lot of times they get caught up in isolation.
Yeah.
And then you start thinking these things. And you start looking online to serve what you're thinking, right? People get into communities where they're like, well, I feel this way.
Yeah.
It's not just about feeling, it's
I'm
about...
attracted to balloons.
Yeah.
I actually saw that on the show. There's like a
Wow.
whole community of people that like
Hey,
are attracted.
but you see,
to
like
balloons.
I feel this way. I'm thinking this,
Yeah.
right? It's a connection, and then I'm gonna go find people like me.
Bro, it's the weirdest thing. They all go to these conventions and they go in these rooms and they just like rub themselves on balloons.
That's crazy.
Like
That's-
giant balloons, small balloons.
that's
They
crazy.
They just like.
Don't you think though that I'm sorry.
No. I'm done. I just wanted to like put that out there to like how practical it can be, like where we can just allow these things in because we don't know how to gauge it.
Yeah.
If nobody's telling you, you don't do this, you got to watch what you're thinking, or why, or even checking you when you say something that you know came from a thought that is perverted, right?
Right.
If you don't have that around you, you're not going to know how to gauge these things. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, sadly, America, we set the template for the acceptance and the over publicization of these events, because when the world sees us, they think that that's what we're about. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
like we started off with the reality shows, the real world, and displaying certain things, and slowly TV shows followed, and then it got in the early to mid 2000s, it got even more ridiculous, and we all looked at that as entertainment. But that was a gauge for them to see what was our acceptance was gonna be.
Yeah.
And we tuned in to laugh and giggle and found it funny or entertaining, but didn't realize that we were setting up our demise. What we're talking about earlier was the family structure, because when you have these kind of things permeating the airwaves and penetrating younger people, they feel, when you ask the average young person today, what do they want to do? Guess what they want to do? They want to be a social influencer. They want to be on YouTube. They want to be they want to be in the limelight. They realize that fame and fortune is a big part of that, and that's a form of worship too.
Yeah.
So all of these things tie into how we're affected slowly. Because I was watching this thing about when TV changed. There was a time, standards and practices, but there was a time when certain things just were not allowed on TV.
Yeah.
And then slowly it degraded and degraded and degraded to now it's so, and essentially all of this stuff came from here.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So
Speaking about that, I just saw something about what TV shows would do, right?
Mhm.
This is kind of crazy. So they would, you know how they would stretch or like, I guess, try to go further and further with the debauchery, right?
Mm-hmm.
They would put things in the show that they knew, they would put horrible things in there, right? But then they'll put things in the show that they knew would get rejected beyond a shadow of a doubt, so that they would focus on that and forget about everything else.
It's called the big ask. It's like when you're making a deal, you go so far beyond what you actually want to ask for, so that when you finally settle on the thing you really want,
that's where you wanted to be.
Yeah, you're where you wanted to be anyway. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So just speaking, you know, to that,
I watched. Somebody broke it down, and I was like, "Wow, that is very true." It was how they framed it, and we don't realize. I think what a lot of Christians, because we're not being watchful, is we're acting surprised that this just happened. What? They're doing that? This has been happening, but like you said, it was small doses, and we and they're in the background like, oh. Let's add a little bit more. Let's add a little bit more. It's the same thing with the food. I watched this whole thing on food and how slowly but surely all these corporations started buying out these smaller mom and pop shops that were actually making genuine good food, healthier food. And slowly they bought the formula. They hired scientists to twist it and make it similar, but not the nutritional value. And the reason I saw that was because they showed the label in America, and then they showed the label overseas, and the label overseas was tiny, and the label here were with words you can't pronounce.
Yeah.
You know. So what I'm saying is that we're acting surprised because these things are happening, but slowly but surely, because we haven't been watchmen over our house, meaning our culture, our family, what's happening, we haven't been watchmen. We've been distracted. That slowly, the powers that be. And let's call them what they are. Even the people who are doing it, they're controlled by a principality too.
Yeah.
Those people have been manipulated too. They just are manipulating us through that power. But because we haven't been good stewards and watchmen, they were able to do it.
Yeah.
So we can't sit here and be like, oh my God, they're doing this thing? Yeah.
Yep.
They've been doing it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I gotta show y'all this, man.
It started when he was a child as an innocent attraction to the shapes and colours. Now Julius has filled his home with over 50,000 balloons and can't sleep unless he's surrounded by them.
I love all balloons, but I do have my favorites. I like the crystal clear, the transparent. You know, it's like a soap bubble, you know, you can see through it. I've got the long ones, the round ones, but my favorite is the spherical ones. Why? I don't know. I guess it's like a guy that prefers blondes or brunettes, you know.
Julius is so addicted, he even has an entire room dedicated to balloons.
This is my balloon sanctuary. I have magenta, purple, yellow, blue, red, and clear. And wherever I have a white one, I don't have many white ones, but I try to put the white ones in there, like there's a white one over there. And then I got some orange and yellow and green. I try to alternate it to keep all the colors, you know, of the rainbow in there. One of my favorite balloons is the weather balloon. It's very delicate and shapen. I feel, you know, like I give him a second chance at life.
But Julius doesn't share his extreme love for balloons with many people.
The only people that know is my family. My wife thinks it's strange, but she accepts it.
Is a wife?
Julius' wife refused to participate in filming.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, so sexually attracted to balloons there.
But is he sexually attracted to balloons? 'Cause
Yeah.
That's not what it...
That's what it gets to when you watch the whole episode.
Gosh, yeah, let's not go there. But...
Is the wife a balloon? He has it. She has a face on it. He's like, she doesn't want to be on film.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord.
All right. Man, there was so much other stuff I wanted to get to. We
oh wow, it's already...
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, man. I wanted to get to some of the latest and greatest with the Kamala Harris stuff and all of that, but it's already late.
Yeah, I think we had to touch on this. And to make that connection between like the domestic, you know.
Yeah.
In terms of like, well, how do we deal with this stuff? Like sometimes I think for people it feels like it's too great.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it starts with our homes. It starts with our communities. It starts with how we treat people, right?
Mm-hmm.
It starts with like, are we willing, like when we see people struggling or, you know, going through things, or even just like hypocrites, you know, like saying one thing, but we could challenge them. That's love to challenge them, right?
Yep.
It's love to challenge them and shine a light on something that maybe they
I think that's
don't
what we're
want to.
struggling though. No one has taught them how to defend and how to challenge in love. So what happens is, anytime someone pushes back, they feel that it's opposition, and they internalize it. So even if you're, that's something that's like it's a muscle that needs to be massaged.
Mm-hmm.
Someone is offering, like it's like you guys, especially you coach, right? Now, what you're trying to do is ultimately make this child better, but their biggest hurdle is their parents, who is opposing you because they don't see what you see.
Yeah.
Because their eyes are not trained for that. So I think a lot of people, because we're in this thing, we can't take correction. So if someone opposes us, our thing is we want to destroy you because we're fearful of being destroyed.
Yeah.
Or looking silly.
Or we feel like it's a reflection of us.
Yes.
If our kid is judged, it's a judgment against us. You know.
Right.
Yeah. Or even going back to the lady at the beginning of this, in the first one you showed, right?
Yeah.
She it was about how she looked. She got triggered by the things that the guy said, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it goes back to how she was perceived. Now, is she willing to really hear those things out? Like,
yeah.
Maybe I am going about this the wrong way.
I think maybe when she watches the video and see how people react to her, I hope that it's enough to be like, whoa, this is what I look like.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe she'll be like, yeah, maybe I don't look like I'm ready to be a wife.
Yeah. But if you're like, if you say it one time and then somebody snaps, a lot of times you won't say it again, right? You're gonna,
because you're worried about that too. You don't want to get snapped on,
right?
Yeah, it's not.
I mean, I felt like that plenty of times when you're trying to correct someone and you're like, you know what, I'm just gonna mind my business.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's such an easy thing to do is just check out.
Yeah,
you're like, those are not my kids. Those are not my friends. Those are not my people.
Yeah.
You know, it's very easy to do that because, I mean, let's be honest. You have to be a unique person to like. When I say like, I mean be ready for conflict.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of people who can't handle that.
Yeah, they avoid it like the plague.
Right. So it does take a lot of patience. And if you're not careful and you're not truly prayed up and really have a close relationship with God, you can get fleshly real quick because people will push buttons.
Yeah.
Well, I think even that, like, even if you do, even that is like, oh, yeah, I stepped out too far. I did too much. Even like, it's not, because I don't think, like, if you think I don't want to make a mistake. You're going to make a mistake.
Yeah.
You're going to say the wrong thing sometimes.
Because you're being led by your flesh.
Yeah.
Because you're worried about it.
Yeah, and then you're learning, like, when you step out too far or you say something you shouldn't have said, then you go back and humble yourself. You know what I mean? All right, God, I know I did this. Help me in this way, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you go back and get, like, if you stop, that's when you're not trusting him anymore.
But that's what we're, very true, but that's what we're talking about when we said, hey, listen, the typology of how you behave comes from the parents.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're not used to seeing apologies and humbling yourself, it's going to take a lot of intercession for God to bring that in you. It's a lot of humbling,
a lot of work,
versus you seeing that in the home, you seeing that being displayed, where it's humbleness and meekness, and like you said, servitude. Because ultimately, as a husband, you're gonna have to humble yourself and serve your wife to bring her up, because that's against the natural nature, the sinful nature, is to want to come against you.
Yeah.
So you got to recognize that.
But again, this is why we need people in our life that we, especially as believe, like nobody wants to listen to nobody.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
a lot of
Oh,
times.
yeah.
Paul said, "Follow me as I follow Christ."
Mhm.
You know, like he's mirroring for whoever he was at that time over, right?
Yeah.
Who he brought in, he's mirroring. When you see him, he says, "Do what you see in me," right?
Mhm.
As I do, follow that, right? He says it a bunch of times in different ways. But I think a lot of people are so hard. It's so hard for people to trust.
Yeah.
They don't know who, you know. And there's so many people who put themselves in Paul's position, you know what I mean? As a preacher.
That's
or
where social media comes in.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing. This is where a lot of believers fall apart. We think we could sit and watch YouTube and we could watch videos and that's enough.
Mhm.
And like you said, like a person can put up on a front, like Paul says, do as I do. It's hard to do as someone does that you've never met.
Mhm.
You've never been around. You don't see their family. You don't see when they're in these situations. When you see it, like you can't be a cop online. You're gonna have to physically go out there and stop people and run into drunk drivers and run into people that are abrasive. You can't be like, I studied everything. I watched everything. I'm ready to go.
I'm a theologian. I'm a biblical scholar. I got it all figured out.
And this is the problem because when you have to be, and this is for us being around men, being around, for me especially, is I didn't always look up to my dad until I got older and realized what he was doing. That made me be like, oh, that's why he did that. That's why he said that. Because when you're a child, your mind is like a child. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't grow out of that. But seeing certain behavior, you need to be around men and women and people of God to see it, because that's the typology. It will start to affect you, and you start realizing, maybe partying and clubbing and chasing women and going to Miami isn't the right thing.
Yep.
Because I don't hear anything good about it.
Nothing good comes from it.
Nothing good comes from it,
Remember that? What was that movie? I forget what movie it was, where Bernie Mac says, it was like late at night and he was like, ain't nothing up this late but the devil. You remember that line? And that line, everybody used to laugh about that line, but it was a lot of truth there because it's like, you're not up to no good around at 2-3 o'clock in the morning. You
what
out
are you
and
looking
about.
for?
What are you doing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is true. That is very true.
Well, let me read this comment. Denver says, lost a few relationships lately, but I have to stand my ground with my belief.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. You're gonna, that's the hard part. When you stand your ground, you're gonna lose some people.
Yeah.
But I've lost some people and then gained people. I've lost people and then I've gained them back later on.
Yeah.
Then maybe I've lost them again sometimes. But you never know. But as you stay consistent in your life, man, that's when you see things shift,
Yep.
And it's about consistency.
Yeah.
And it's about, more than anything, it's about consistency in trusting in God and faith in God. Because if we're real with ourselves, none of us are going to do it right.
Yeah.
None of us are going to, I have a mirror in my wife that I know every day I'm not doing it exactly right.
Yep.
And things affect us. After the loss of my mom, when my mom died, my mom's I was born and raised in Bible believing Pentecostal home. I only say Pentecostal to how strict Pentecostals are.
Yep.
I was raised in that. So when it did affect me, and I did feel for a time like, what's the point of all of this? My mom died at 50, cancer, a disease, wiped her out in a month. So in that short time, I allowed bitterness to creep in, and Satan came in and was like, hey, go live your life. You shouldn't, because you never know. You may not make it, so you might as well enjoy that. But it's until I started really dabbling in those things, I was like, wait a minute, these people here are broken.
Yeah.
They're hurting.
Yeah.
The lifestyle that they're in, this is destructive.
It's a momentary fix, right?
I watched it and I was like, wait, you this is what you're doing. Like when I started seeing it, because see, in the nightlife world, it's so exciting because you're going there for that moment. But when you see them after, or you start really getting to know them, you're like, wow, this is your life.
Yeah.
So maybe the things that we watch, the glamorization of it, and then I did that for a few years, and then slowly watching my sister and everybody getting married, having kids, and realizing that the people that I loved and admired was still in a certain lifestyle, still participating in that, triggered back that thing to come back, and then getting close again with my dad, and realizing that, you know, I opened the door for that, and the enemy came in and took advantage of that.
Yeah.
And used the pain of losing a mom, a loved one like that, and said, you know, you can't predict life. Look, she died, and man, you better enjoy life because you never know. And I started hearing these philosophies. You should live like today is the last. You should. These are all things.
But remember what Jake was just saying, like about a half hour ago, where he said like those thoughts. Yeah. Those come from there's a general.
Yes.
That is delegating those thoughts out to people.
Right.
And it's about the ones that you catch and you
Worldly
take
philosophy.
it and you put them
Yes.
in your heart and you grab onto those, and now they become a part of your thinking.
Yes.
And
Yes.
you say, okay, I take that, I accept that one. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Because on the one side, like you're talking about your parents, you know, the Pentecostal, and I know how that, like, it can be hyper or over sensationalized, right? Like certain things in religious circles or religious groups, right? Different denominations and things that are kind of like, don't make any sense. Like, well, why are we doing that? Yeah. And they actually cause harm, right? Because of the misapplications. They cause harm. So as a child growing up in that, now you're looking at that like, this don't make no sense.
Yeah.
That's stupid. And then you go the other way, right? And that's how it is. The pendulum swings both ways, right? And if you stay in that pride, well, that's stupid, you know, like, and you just make that judgment instead of like, wait, yeah, they might have been some misapplications here. It doesn't mean it's all wrong.
No.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's what, a lot of times, that's what we do, and that's what we're taught to do.
Yep.
You know, instead of like recognizing like, yeah, we're all, because you said this earlier, like when you showed it to your kids, hey, listen, I don't got it all figured out, but this is what we're going to do for now. You know, and if I make a mistake, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But I'm learning just as much as you guys are learning. We're just on different levels of learning.
Yeah.
You know, if we don't do that, and if we just tell our kids like, no, this is this, and that's it, and when we do that, and we can't explain it, and we can't give them, sometimes we just got to tell them like, no, do this. But I'm saying like, if we can't be gracious to them and give them, well, Daddy, how about, why do we do this? Why is it? We can't do these things. We're gonna lose them.
Sure.
Yeah.
And for me, I realized that too. I was naturally curious. I asked a lot of questions, and I felt like what would happen to me. It's one of the reasons I stopped. Was the people that I was asking these questions, whether they were Sunday school teachers or elders, what they would do was they would make fun of me and basically make it look like I had a problem because I was too talkative. And when I would be made fun of in Trinidad, you know the colloquialism down there. You've been around the culture.
Yeah.
It's to make their way of to do it, like Caribbean culture, is to make fun of you.
Yeah.
So it makes you look like you're bothering everybody, like you're annoying.
Right.
You know? So, and then my parents would get embarrassed. So I'm like, I'm embarrassing people? Like, so it was...
Yeah.
It quickly taught you not to ask
not to do it. Don't
question anything.
Yeah. But through that is where doubt and bitterness came in. Because I was like, I don't even understand this.
Yeah.
And I'm asking.
Right.
But I'm not doing it to be. See, they took it as you're rebelling because you're not accepting it.
Right.
You know.
Right. They think you're just being disruptive.
I'm being disruptive. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, but at the time they probably did their best with what they had.
And I have to that they weren't really.
Yeah.
They were just teaching what they. As a kid, I was offended because I was like, "You call me stupid."
Yeah.
You know, but it's not. It's you're asking too much questions. But at the same time, it's now that I'm older, I realize they were doing the best that they could at that time. They themselves were a product of that environment, so that probably was told to them. They're just repeating it.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. All right, man. Let's wrap it up there. Before we go, I gotta play. That's the scene.
Hey, Judge.
Yeah, I remember this movie.
I remember.
Yeah.
You want that glad wrap? Glad wrap at 2 in the morning.
Wait. What is this?
Like
Booty call?
Yeah, booty call.
Booty call. Yeah, that's what it
Know
was.
what you out here doing?
Well, she,
Look here, son. It's bad enough you're planning to fornicate. I don't compound the crime by lying.
He had some good lines in
Yeah,
movies, man.
he
He really
did.
did,
One way
man.
to dissolution. Now, I know what condoms and glad wrap. It has its place in the pantheon of safe sex. But there's only one way to be totally safe, and that's abstinence and purity.
And sexual frustration.
Hey, listen, I know how you all feel.
Yeah, I just wanted to see that because I haven't seen it. I couldn't remember what movie it was from, and I was like, I got it. Yeah. All right,
He was in
guys.
his 30s when this happened.
Ain't it crazy?
He always seemed older than me.
Yeah.
He's like 33 or 34.
And then Tommy Davidson and Jamie Foxx, like, man, crazy monster cast.
I saw Tommy live.
Yeah, you told me.
Yeah.
He was good, right?
He was good.
Yeah. All right, let's wrap it up there, guys. Thank you guys for watching. We
guys.
had so much to get to. I didn't get to it, man. I had some stuff.
We talked too much.
Yeah, we definitely went on.
This was a family one.
Yeah.
Family spiritual attack.
But Denver said he loves the learning, so he's loving the learning. But thank you guys for watching. Again, hit that like button and don't forget to share this video and subscribe if you're new here. For all of those that want to support and get behind what we do and support the cause of this movement that we're doing with the Young Lions, where we talk about topics like this. We didn't get into any politics today, even though there's so much going on. Go to our Patreon, patreon.com/YoungLionTV, where you can become a member for as little as $3 a month. And we have different tiers there if you want to sign up. Shout out to all the Young Lion Patreon members who have been watching all night. We appreciate you guys. We love you guys. Also, if you want to support and get some merch, go on over to jatan.com/shop. You can also throw some meat to the lions on the Cash App if you just want to donate that way. $ Young Lion TV over there. And that's it, man. Appreciate everybody. Thank you guys. We'll see you guys next week. And peace.
Young Lion, go live, yeah. Young Lion, you rich, yeah. This